Gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
Mr. Buchanan went up. Right center field. And it's going to roll deep. 2 runs are home. Garcia will be held at third, and Kyle Isbell with 2 outs gives the Royals a 2-0 lead. Hooking into the right field corner, off the screen. MJ Melendez hits his 15th, and the Royals lead 3-0 in the 6th. That'll be a quality start. Look at the Royals fans thanking Cueto for all that he did for them 9 years ago. Welcome back, Johnny Cueto.
That's a class act, Royals fans. Way to go. They're mixing over. They're MJ says no coffee. No. How many times have you thrown coffee in there for Salvi?
A lot.
I love it. I hear it anytime Salvi's out here. No coffee, no coffee. And then MJ throws it in there. So I don't know if that was fair or not. Probably.
A little payback probably for the amount of times I've gotten Sal and Bob with the coffee this year. So.
All right, a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock the next 4 hours. We've got you a number of things to get into and talk about today, as it is the final preseason game for the Kansas City Chiefs. The final time they will take the field before it starts to matter, before it starts to count. 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks. That's it. 2 weeks, 14 days. You know, we're a couple of days away from college football. Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning. We talked about it a couple of days ago when we were in Lawrence for KU Media Day, that there's an actual ACC conference game starting 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. But the Chiefs get underway 2 weeks from today against the Ravens, and the three-peat tour will officially begin. We will talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, what is coming up tonight, what the interest level, Gesundheit, what the interest level is for. That's nothing to sneeze at either, this Chiefs' third preseason game. What the interest level may be, what reasons are to watch, and then we'll also go through in the noon hour 3 players that we think can help their cause, and 3 players that could hurt themselves tonight. Not literally, but figuratively when it comes to their standing with the team. We'll get into that in the noon hour. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock, an hour from now. We'll get his thoughts on this Chiefs team heading into the final preseason game. What do you think some of the positions of concern, problems at all? Because, again, we are talking about depth pieces, not necessarily guys who are impact players that are missing from this team. We're discussing who the backup interior offensive lineman would be, who the second and third and fourth cornerbacks would be, linebackers after Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill, tight end, if there's a fourth one, who the 6th and 7th wide receiver may be for this team, defensive ends, do they go out and find a defensive end because they've got 6 in camp. They'll keep 5. They don't have a Minahu. And if the 5th is Truman Jones, do you feel good about the defensive ends that the Chiefs have getting ready for the Baltimore Ravens? Now, probably better against the Ravens because you'd want more run-stopping guys like a Malik Herring or a Mike Dana rather than pass-rushing guys like an FAU, but against the Ravens. But we'll see what happens with that. But we'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock, some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. We'll do that coming up a few hours from now. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810. Text line to join us and to be a part of the show. Let's get into we'll start with the Royals before we get into the Chiefs. And we'll start with them taking care of business, winning a rubber match, finally. Yeah. Ovation. Nice job, Royals. Won the rubber match. Good job. You did it. You won one.
TCOB, baby. taking care of business.
That's right. That's exactly what. That is exactly right. That's you know what, and that's what they did yesterday. They had to do it. We talked about it yesterday. That on Tuesday going into that game, hey, nice to be greedy to sweep the Angels, but take 2 of 3. Be realistic. Take 2 of 3. Get back to a winning way. Don't lose the series to the Angels. It'd be great if they swept. This was going into Tuesday's game, but hey, at least take 2 of 3, and then you get ready for the stretch of baseball, which is the biggest stretch of baseball that they would have played all year, the toughest stretch of baseball that they would have played all year, the most important stretch of baseball that they would have played all year, and it starts tomorrow night. 3 against the Phillies. They go to Cleveland and Houston for an 8-game road trip, 4 at Cleveland, 4 at Houston. They return for a 6-game homestand, 3 against Cleveland, 3 against Minnesota, and then they head to New York for 3. Like, this next stretch of baseball is going to be as big and as important of series that they have played in 8 years. 2016, 2017 maybe, in the second half of 17 when you felt like, okay, they're kind of in it, and they made some trades.
Since the Red Sox series.
I mean,
let's go back a couple weeks.
Right. But, I mean, looking at it now with the fact that they have a 3.5-game lead, they are 2.5 games out of first place.
Yeah.
They are, again, closer to the 1 seed than they are to not even being in the playoffs. They have almost now a 20% chance of winning the division. They have a 3/4 chance of making the postseason. It's down a few percent from a couple days ago because they were a 4.5-game lead. Now they're a 3.5-game lead, so it went from 79% to 75%. But still, 75%, 3/4 of the time, they're going to make the postseason, according to Fangraphs. Almost a 20% chance to win the division, and about 17% to get the number 1 seed. Roughly the same as winning the division, because winning the division puts you in position to have the best record in the American League. So it's almost identical, right, as to win the division and have the 1 seed, but it's a little bit less because you can't control what the Yankees or Orioles may do. But the difference now versus, like you talked about, with the biggest series since the Red Sox and the Twins, which for sure, but we also knew you were mixing in, all right, here's a series against the Reds. Here's a series against the Angels. You got 2 against the Cardinals, right? Mm-hmm. There's no mixing in now. There's no sliding in a series here or there. It's going to be a while before you get the Pirates. It's going to be the next 4, 8, 11, 14, 7, 20 games. So it was 20 games.
And hell,
I just want to make sure. I was going to say 20, but I doubted myself for a second for the 20. And then you get the reprieve with the Pirates,
who aren't even bad.
Exactly.
They're especially if you have to face Paul Skeens or Mitch Keller. The Pirates are a decent. Again, I'm not trying to say they're a good team.
They're not the White Sox.
They're
not the A's.
They're a decent team.
Right. So they've got a 20-game stretch that, to me, playoff baseball starts tomorrow.
It's time, young man. It's time to take your diapers off and go to work.
For these players, I don't even know who's going to play that, but I love that idea.
Great.
For these players, this is it. This is the time to show what you can be. This is the time to show if you are going to be a playoff contender, because these 20 games will make or break. I mean, you go 5-15, you're out of the playoffs probably. Go 10-10, probably in the playoffs. What do they have, 37 games left? So, or 35.
35, right. Well, let me do some math. 71 plus 56 is 77 plus 50, 127. That's 35 games left.
35 games. So,
math, we teach on the zone.
Can they go 17-18, closer to 500, right? Can they go 16-19? I don't know. 15-20? They go 15-20 the rest of the way. Is that good enough for them to get into the postseason? I don't know. But these 20 games will go a long way in deciding what we're talking about in the middle of September to the end of September. If we're discussing playoff tickets, if we're discussing playoff scenarios, if we're discussing playoff matchups, if we're talking about who we start game 1, 2, or 3, if we're discussing what the bullpen is going to look like as it rounds out for a series against whether that be the Yankees or the Astros or the Twins or the Orioles or Maybe the Red Sox at that time. I mean, if the Twins start, fading and the Red Sox catch them. I mean, if the Royals are tied with the Twins, so they might have the second wild card spot, which, you can really start to get into the conversation of would you rather have the second or the third wild card spot? If the Royals don't win the division or get the first wild card, would you rather have the second or third wild card spot? It just depends on how well Houston's playing. Because if you're the third wild card spot, you'd go to Houston. If you're the second wild card spot, you'd go to New York or Baltimore. So,
Houston's been an enigma, man. I mean, sometimes they look like they're the Houston of old. Alex Bregman is finally back, starting to rake after a absolutely horrendous start where I go, maybe he's just done for. Jordan Alvarez is still doing Jordan Alvarez things, but he's going under the radar because of Bobby, because of Aaron Judge. And then their pitching staff's been hit and miss. Verlander is now back. He looked decent in his first start back. I think it was against the Mets.
It was a couple nights ago, 2-3 nights ago.
I think it was last night, actually.
Okay, I was going to say it was very recent. I couldn't remember
very recent. He hit 5 innings.
When I was reading about it.
Few strikeouts. But he looked good. I mean, that's a big boost to the rotation. But how much are you gonna hope that a 41-year-old gets it done? I mean, again, Houston is not this unbeatable juggernaut that they were before. I mean, they're aging. They're aging hard with Jose Altuve, too.
Well, the aging, they may have to put their diapers on later on because they're getting old, but their diapers are off. Like they wear their big boy pants, okay? They got their lunch pail. They've been there, done that, won a World Series, legitimately or not, played in the postseason. They've been there. They have been playing amazing baseball.
Yeah.
They have gained 15 games in the standings on the Mariners since the beginning of June. They were 10 games out. They were 10 games behind the Mariners. They're 5 games up now. I mean, now, some of that is how well the Astros are playing, and some of that is how awful the Mariners have been. They are just falling apart at the seams.
2-8 in their last 10 games. They've now lost 3 in a row. Seattle
can't score.
They can't score.
Their team is batting 200.
Their pitching's been, honestly, very, very, very good.
Right. That's the thing is, their pitching should be good enough that they shouldn't have prolonged stretches.
Correct.
Problem is they can't hit. And they went and got Randy Arozarena, and he was like, you know what? He's going to fit right into that lineup. And he has, batting 200.
Yeah. I mean,
since they acquired him. And it's like, it's unfortunate for them. But, I mean, you had an opportunity. They were up 10 games in this division, and it looks like they probably are not going to make the playoffs because are they going to catch the Astros? I mean, you got to be 5 games better than the Astros the way that they're playing right now. Like, it's different. Like, we're talking about the Guardians who have not played good baseball since the All-Star break, who have been below 500 since they won their 8 games in a row. When they won their 8 games in a row and went up 9 games in the division, they've played sub-500 baseball the rest of the way. The Royals have the best record since the All-Star break in baseball, tied with the Astros. Like, so, I mean, that's what we're talking about here is the way the Royals are playing. Buxton's on the IL for the Twins. Joe Ryan is hurt for the Twins. Guardians' bullpen is being overworked. They're begging for a starter to go 5 innings in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, so we are so micro-focused on the Royals that the macro view in the position that they're in is they have every opportunity to take care of business, but they've got 7 games, 10 total of the 20 against Cleveland and Minnesota, but 7 games are against the Guardians. I mean, this is the next
good.
2 weeks.
You want that. You know what?
Right.
That's an opportunity. If you're scared, then you're not a playoff team.
Half of the next 14 games, 7 against Cleveland, and then 7 against Philadelphia and Houston combined.
Yeah, you should want this because this one, it's a measuring stick, but 2, you want to play the best. You want to see where you stack up, and you want to beat them because you know why? There's a lot of games to gain. Don't think about games you can lose. Think about games you can gain. The Philly series, I get it. That's not ideal. But against teams like Houston and Cleveland specifically, think of the Cleveland series as an opportunity, not a negative.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of this goes to, I think, what J.J. Piccolo did at the trade deadline. I mean, how good were the 3 moves that he's made? Hunter Harvey, we'll see. It's not been good. That's been the outlier. But think of the moves he's made so far to give the team more depth. Michael Wacha coming back healthy and pitching the way he has pitched. As much as we've ripped on Brady Singer for big games, overall, you'll take that. He's going 6 innings almost every single game at least, which is helping, again, a bad bullpen try and stay fresh. And then obviously Ursig is just, I don't know, Billy Wagner.
He's been awesome. I mean, he's been absolutely awesome. Schreiber did his thing. Tomorrow night is when it starts. We'll see what they look like against the Phillies. I hate that Ranger Suarez is coming off the IL and will be making his first start in a few weeks on Saturday against the Royals. I had mistakenly thought that the Phillies were off today, so I had said yesterday, like, hey, they're going to miss Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
They won't because they play today. So they will see Walker, who's been pretty good.
Taijuan Walker.
Walker against Michael Wacha. Brady Singer against Ranger Suarez, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball the first 2 months.
He was Seth Lugo this year for in the NL.
Yep, and then Lugo versus Wheeler. Two of the best pitchers in baseball this year will be Sunday. I'll be at that game. Looking forward to it.
The one thing I will say for Ranger Suarez, when you're coming off of an injury, a lot of times, there's a pitch count. There's going to be, whether it's 75, 80, and you might be a little rusty. I know you'll have some AAA games, or I don't know if he had a minor league stint or not with him specifically.
Well, he probably did.
But I don't mind that. Great pitchers when they come off.
I'd rather see Tyler Phillips, who they sent down to the minor leagues.
Hey, I'm not saying what would I rather, but I'm also again saying that I don't want excuses. That this is not Ranger Suarez in the first half where he was just every start going out there every 5 days and getting it done, like Seth Lugo was. If you're coming off an injury, the range of outcomes is there.
The Ranger of outcomes?
The range. Plus, the Royals versus lefties. Don't put Paul DeJong in there, but put guys like Freddie Fermin, who's been phenomenal. Put in Blanco, who, if you look at what he's done against lefties, has been phenomenal. The Royals do have some guys who can hit lefties very, very well.
So here's one of the news reports on this, and it's a good point. And it said Ranger Suarez, without a rehab start, will likely face minor workload restrictions.
There we go.
Now, what does that mean? What's a minor workload? He only goes 80 pitches? Well, if he's 80 and efficient, well, that might be 7 innings. Does he go 60 pitches?
Cueto last night.
Right, exactly. Does he go 60 pitches? What's that mean? We'll find out coming up on Saturday. But by the way, great call. Cueto last night pitching, and kudos to the standing ovation for Johnny
awesome.
Cueto. The look on his face, it felt like he was trying to hold back the smiles and excitement because he plays for the other team.
Yeah.
He's walking off the mound, losing in a game that he's pitching and pitched perfectly fine in, and heading over to the dugout of the opposite team while the home fans are giving him a standing ovation, and it looked like he wanted to embrace it and enjoy it, which he did with the tip of the cap a couple times, and you could see the smile.
The 2 times.
Yes, 2 times tipping his cap. But also it was like he was trying to fight against, like, no, I'm a professional and I'm on the other team here. I think they would have – I think the Angels players would have understood if he stood out there for a couple of more, 5, 6, 7 seconds and waved his hat a little bit more. Because when he was walking off the mound and the standing ovation started and he tipped his cap, the view from behind Cueto to the Angels dugout I thought was awesome. Because then the Angels players started standing up to come over and congratulate Johnny Cueto coming off the mound.
That was really
sort of
cool.
like their acknowledgement of the fans' acknowledgement of the flag that's flying in left field with his performance that he put on at many times that year. In Game 5 in the ALDS against the Houston Astros. I mean, we talk about the amazing comeback. But if Cueto goes out there and gets shelled, then the amazing comeback becomes moot. But he went out there and he was dominant in that performance. And he was well worth the trade. No matter what happened with the 3 players that they traded away, he was well worth the trade. And I thought it was cool, even though, there's going to be talk and a couple of texts that have already come in asking about, hey, attendance. I mean, what's going on there? Even though it wasn't as packed as maybe you would think for a team that's, 3.5 games up in a playoff spot on August 22nd on a Wednesday. But it was a really cool moment, and I'm glad the Royals fans, because I don't remember what happened in 2022 in the 2 times he played in Kansas City and pitched and started. I remember.
I think he was good because he had a great year in 22.
But I don't remember if he got standing ovations, if they cheered for him. It was a bad baseball team. The Royals were, I looked it up because
good point.
I was wondering about sort of the attendance, right? I'm like, oh, well, if it was 2022, the Royals weren't all that good. I mean, that's, how many people were there? Well, last night there were roughly 13,000 fans, which
Yeah, that's
is
crazy.
Like not even surprising. It's sort of shocking. Now it's hard for me to judge because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone to a game this year. So I am.
Oh, really?
Yes, I haven't gone to a game yet.
That's your
We're-
fault.
Right, I know. We're going Sunday.
Well,
we're very excited
Well, I don't know.
about
The
that.
Royals are good with you not
Yeah.
there. Is
The
this,
problem is we were playing tournament games every weekend. Like we're now into like, hey, you're playing baseball a lot. So we have that, and then we have practice during the week, and then it's like, okay, so one of the nights you're free, do you go out to the game? And if you're free that night, are they home? Et cetera. All those things, come into play. But I was looking at it, August 10th of 2022, the last time Johnny Cueto pitched at Kauffman Stadium before last night. Mm-hmm. The Royals won the game to move to 46-66 against the White Sox. August 10th, Wednesday night, there were 15,500 fans there that night. Now, that was probably a week before school.
Yeah, school starting has been
I talked about
yeah.
last week. I said, I wonder what this week will be with the Angels. We even mentioned it maybe for like 30 seconds. It was like, hey, next week because school's in, because school started back last week for a lot of kids, maybe even a couple of weeks ago. If not, then this week. So it's like, okay, that's the first week, 2 weeks, or maybe 3 of school starting. It's the Angels without Trout and Ohtani. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the Phillies come in, before the Guardians, before the Twins, before you really start to get rolling. I wonder what those will look like when you get into your school routine. You get back into your school routine, because I know we aren't trying to do anything at night when we're trying to figure. Now they're going to a new school, but there's a lot of different things that happen after when school starts. Let's get back into our routine before we throw in a Royals game here or there. But 13,000 fans last night was, I will say, surprising.
It's disappointing, but also I think you can make a case it's understandable. If you are a fan and you're going to go to a game, you're going to spend your money. Are you going to go watch the Mike Troutless Angels who are bad, or are you going to go try and spend money on the Twins, the Phillies, a game that might mean a little more and might, quite frankly, be a better game? I can understand that. I think if they would have known it's Johnny Cueto, I think maybe beforehand, we knew a day before.
Maybe they would get 2,000. Maybe they get back to 15,000.
Maybe you get a couple
maybe
extra.
That's why
because
they got 15.5 is because Cueto was pitching that night. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea. No idea. I don't remember August 10th, 2022.
For as few fans as were out there, they were a loud crowd. You could hear it on the TV. You could hear the excitement. Mm-hmm. It was palpable. And I will also say for Johnny Cueto, I think he earned himself another start, which is fun. I was glad that he got the quality start.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the Royals are going to win. I want them to score all these runs, but there's that guy on third or second, whatever. It ended up being a double play, and I'm like, okay, good. It wasn't 4 runs now. Maybe this bought him an extra start.
Yeah.
He was really good in 2022, by the way. His last full season in the majors, he had a 3.35 ERA in 25 starts for a brutal White Sox team. He was bad last year with Miami, but this was his first start this year at age 38, and he looked pretty darn good. Looks like me after 7 beers trying to throw a ball, just all the movement he does. But
it's just you trying to walk.
It's me trying to walk after 7 beers.
It's me probably trying to walk after, I'll just try this beer.
Well, let me just try this bourbon.
Nobody tried the beer. The beer's gone bad. It tastes like beer to me. Sure. By the way, I looked at, just for randomness, the lineup that day for the Royals. So the lineup last night for the Royals, Michael Massey, Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, Adam Frazier, Maikel Garcia, Kyle Isbell. The lineup for the Royals against the White Sox that night.
Nicky Lopez.
He was at short, but he batted ninth. MJ Melendez, Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, Nick Prado, Michael Massey, Kyle Isbell, Hunter Dozier, Nicky Lopez. There are
6?
Prado, Lopez, and Dozier. So 6 of the 9 guys in that lineup were in last night's lineup. And there was a Hunter.
Wow.
So
6.5.
A Hunter playing right field.
6.5.
Yeah.
I'll count it.
Just change Dozier to Renfroe. It's the same guy. A Hunter in right field. That's 7. I'm going with 7.
I'll give you a half.
7 guys.
I'll give you a half.
You know what? Have you ever seen Hunter Renfroe and Hunter Dozier in the same place at the same time? I mean, somebody probably has. I'm not sure. They probably played the Angels or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Disregard that question. Point being, there's a Hunter in right field in that game and last night. I'm going 7.
The over-under was 6.5, actually. It's a push. It's a push.
How do you get a push on 6.5 people? Hunter Renfroe, Hunter Dozier. That's just crazy looking at the Melendez, Witt, Salvi, Vinny, Massey, Isbell, all in the lineup
It
last
honestly,
night.
though, does go to show, one, the importance of starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one. And two, a lot of times with these younger guys, you got to give them time.
Yeah.
Don't give up on the guys so quickly. I think that's a very good point. I mean, they were so bad 2 years ago. And we're talking about 6 of the same guys are now on this, hopefully, should be playoff team.
Vinny was batting 240 at that time. He was OPSing at 700.
What was Bobby doing? What was Michael Massey doing?
Bobby was batting 250 and getting on base at 290.
Yeah.
For a 740 OPS.
Don't say MJ because he might have been better.
MJ was batting 237, so he was better. Salvi was batting 220.
Yeah.
Getting on base at 250.
Because he was a young guy then, too, right? He was
OPSing at 712. Hunter Dozier was OPSing at 723. I mean, he was getting on base at 311.
Stud. Could use that bat.
Michael Massey was batting 333, getting on base at 350.
He probably had very few plate appearances.
Exactly. It was probably his third plate appearance or whatever. But yeah, just looking at that group of players to now, it's interesting. I mean, Nicky Lopez was batting 242. So, I mean, Hunter Dozier was batting 248. In fact, in that lineup, it's outside of Massey's, few at bats. Bobby batting 254, and then Dozier batting 248, and then Lopez batting 242. They were the Mariners. That
was the
lineup was the Mariners.
That was the Mariners.
That lineup, and Chris Bubich was on the mound. He started that game against Johnny Cueto.
Johnny Baseball.
Yeah. So how the turntables have turned.
Last night, by the way, I blame Dylan and you for this. All I could think about every single time Johnny Cueto came out was Johnny Baseball. Johnny Baseball.
Yes, as you should. Yeah, we'll see. I will say, as far as the attendance this weekend, if people aren't there, then yeah, I think that there's something there would be an issue.
And they have deals, man. They got deals at the K right now. I'll give Sherman that.
It's a great team coming in. It's a World Series winning team from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's Bryce Harper, it's Schwarber. You see some really good pitchers on the mound this weekend.
Yeah.
The Royals are in a pennant chase. They are playing for the division. 2.5 games out of the division. And playoff baseball, to me, starts on Friday night.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are still 2 weeks away. And college football hasn't really started, at least around here. It's still week 0. None of the local teams play.
I mean,
this weekend.
Phillies, Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Boehm, Castellanos, JT Real Muto. I mean, that's front six. That starting six is loaded.
Yep. They have been playing great baseball. Hopefully that continues. But we'll see. Yeah, 13,000 last night, disappointing. But again, it's not totally unexpected from me because it's kind of what we talked about last week about this specific series.
Yeah.
It will start to become disappointing if that continues. Because, there's a lot of people that voted to save the K. Well, go save the K. Go watch it, the K. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue talking a little Royals baseball coming up next. All right, let's talk about Michael Lorenzen's performance last night, because this is a guy who his previous 8 outings, 7 starts and 1 outing out of the bullpen before the Rangers traded him. His previous 8 outings before the Royals got him, he had a 5.55 ERA in 35 innings. He had a 1.5 whip with 28 strikeouts and 19 walks. 28 strikeouts, 19 walks in 35 innings. He has started 4 games for the Royals. In those 4 games, he's gone 22 and 2/3 innings. So, little more than, 5. 5 and a third, 5 and 2/3, I guess, is kind of what it would be around there. Because it'd be less than 6, about 5 and 2/3. He's got a sub-2 ERA. 1.99 ERA in that time.
That's a 1 in front of it, baby.
Exactly.
That's a 1.
He's given up 5 earned runs in almost 23 innings. A 1.147 whip as opposed to 1.5, 1.45, whatever. The walks aren't great. 9 walks in 23 innings or so. The strikeouts, he's not out there striking a bunch of guys out. The walks and strikeouts are right about the same as they were. The walks are a little bit better than what they were, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be pinpoint control, and he's not going to be a strikeout guy. The walk and strikeouts, to me, is sort of what is a little bit better than what I thought you would be getting from Lorenzen, because I was concerned that you were getting the Michael Lorenzen who was pitching the way that he was his last 8 outings from the Rangers. But he's not pitching that way right now. He's pitching much better. Even last night when he couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Cole Reagans got hit around by that lineup. And Michael Lorenzen is not Cole Reagans. And he talked about last night that he just could not find it. For 3 innings, he was fighting himself. He was getting mad at himself. He was yelling at himself on the mound because he wasn't making pitches, wasn't hitting his spots. It didn't feel right coming out of his hand for the first 3 innings. And then he found it. And then he goes 4 more innings and has just a gem of a game last night. And so, such a positive of what they've gotten from their 5th starter in Michael Lorenzen. Irsay comes out and closes the door. Last night, another J.J. Piccolo game. Another J.J. game in that you've got Lorenzen goes 7, and then Irsay pitches another. And you've got, 8 of the 9 innings are guys you acquired at the deadline. Last night against the Angels in a rubber match game that you could not lose before you started this massive 20-game stretch.
When you watched Irsay come in, it's such a great feeling knowing the game is over. It was just such a fun feeling.
Just like it's a question of if they're going to get a base runner, not if they're going to score 3 runs and tie the game.
Correct. And again, he's going to have, we keep having to preface this, he's going to have a game at some point where he might give.
I'll believe it when I see
it. But right now, it's like, I don't believe it because he's come to Kansas City and has just been absolutely electric. The mustache, electric. The fastball, electric.
Did you see that picture last night of Irsay running onto the field? I got to find it, dude.
I've not seen that.
And I got to give credit where credit. So you continue your thoughts. I'm going to find this picture.
But with Michael Lorenzen, again, small sample size, so we'll take a drink here.
Okay, cool. I'm going to do both. Look for that picture while taking a drink. Thank you.
But I do think the Royals have had success, and he's 32 years old. He's pitched enough. I don't know how much they've changed him in those 4 starts here in Kansas City. But the Royals pitching staff's been great this year. Brian Sweeney deserves a ton of credit. Zumwalt as well. Seth Lugo's a guy who's known for throwing a ton of pitches. Lorenzen throws 7. I mean, Lorenzen throws 7 different pitches, and at times
7 different kinds of smoke or types of smoke, whatever it was with Owen Wilson. Go ahead.
And even at times last night, the ability to adjust and change when you don't have it, he was struggling. I forget who was at the plate. I don't know if it was Nito or not. He couldn't get his guy out, just fouling off pitch after pitch. And eventually, he geared up on a sinker, like 95 up and in. One of the filthier pitches I have seen all year from any player. And I don't know if it's Lorenzen now playing on a winning team, which is funny because the Rangers were supposed to be said winning team after winning the World Series, right? But I don't know. Lorenzen looks like a changed man since he's come to Kansas City, and I do want to give Kansas City some credit as well for at least identifying. They did it with Aroldis Chapman. They've done it with a few players now with Michael Walker, who's down to a 3.3 ERA after what he was last. I mean, like, the bullpen, they can't. Bullpen, the Royals have struggled, but with the starters,
and hopefully Schreiber was injured. Hopefully it was just Schreiber was battling injuries that wasn't IL worthy until it was IL worthy. Jason Hanna, who is a staff photographer for the Kansas City Royals, he had this picture of Urseg. He said, I love the lighting with the Urseg running in and then the board in the background of Urseg. Oh, wow. It's just a beautiful, beautiful picture. So
that's
if you want to go check it out, it's on Twitter. It's at Jason Hanna Photo, and that's awesome. That picture was going around last night. Just the visuals, the lighting, the Urseg in the background with the blue, and him walking in and knowing sort of there's a different feel when he's coming onto the field. It's not like the first month and a half when it was like, hey, James MacArthur's got a closer song now. Good for him.
You know what? Give Ursig Whitehorse. He deserves it. No.
Not yet. Don't give him a closer song yet.
No closer song.
I have no idea if he
Sterling,
has one or not.
Bad Sterling.
He might have one. I don't know. I'll find out on Sunday when he's coming out there with to close the game against the Phillies to complete the sweep. With him on the mound in the ninth, I'll tell you if there's somebody will know, obviously. But that picture was really awesome. Just a beautiful, beautiful picture. So shout out to Jason Hanna for that. But Michael Lorenzen has been great, and Urseg has been great. Paul DeYoung playing his role has been great. Hunter Harvey hasn't worked out so far, and he had the setback. And that sucks. No pun intended with the setback, with dealing with the injury to his back. Had the cortisone shot. We'll see what the update's going to be with the cortisone injection in a couple of days, because they injected his back. It wasn't, coming along the way that they thought it would. So they gave him a cortisone shot. They're going to wait a couple of days, shut him down, then reassess. But I haven't gone through the back. But the neck that I've had for 2 years, the neck injury that I had for 2 years.
He's got a neck.
He got a little bit of a neck that I had cortisone epidural injections a number of times. I can tell you that one at the end finally sort of just did the trick finally. It allowed my neck to heal instead of being in one huge tight ball while also the disc.
Lot of injuries.
It's just, not really though.
Your neck,
I don't have a back injury.
Your calf.
I pulled my calf 2 years or last summer. That happened. But I am 44 years old. But just don't
look at Dave or 43, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I am a day. I'm a couple months over 43. So well done. Don't do landscaping for 4 or 5 hours the same exact motion without taking a break, because it turns out it can damage your neck. But I went through those injections, and let me tell you, one worked awesome. One worked okay for like a week. One didn't work at all.
Yeah.
I felt the same. And there was actually one to where I left it, and the next day I felt worse. Like, you don't know how the body's going to react to that. You want to just calm everything down. You put that in there, calms everything down. Hey, chill out, relax body. Let the body start to do the healing process, but you don't know how it's going to react when that happens. So, yeah, that sucks with Hunter Harvey. But 3 of the 4 have been wins so far. 3 of the 4 have been absolute wins. Hunter Harvey was the first one they went out and got. Now that had to do with the draft pick and everything, and we'll see, because if that draft pick turns out to be awesome, baseball a little different, obviously.
Question. But how many times did Hunter Harvey go out before the Royals went after Ursig? because I wonder if they were planning on Hunter Harvey to be the guy, and that was their closer move.
It's a good question.
They go, he's doesn't look good.
I think it was. I think they still would have gone after Ursig. I think they were still working the market if it made sense.
Sure.
And the price tag for Ursig made
that's
way too much sense.
Lovely price tag.
Because, if the price tag for Ursig was what it was for Tanner Scott, Ursig wouldn't be a Royal right now.
Correct.
But thank God that the A's were like, yeah, cool, well, which is whatever. They moved them. And
they're going to Vegas. So it's a fire sale.
So
it's everything's 75% off.
It's a volatile position. Bullpen arms, you never know what you're going to get from year to year. Hopefully Ursig is a guy that, is consistent for 2-3 years. You can get, Wade Davis was awesome for the Royals for 3 years or so, then good with the Cubs, then led the league in saves with the Rockies, and then gone. And then nothing. Yeah. Holland was great for a few years, and then fell off the map.
Then
right?
Rockies again,
yeah,
right?
Right, exactly, yeah. So
there's a little bit of a.
So when Ursig gets to Colorado, that's the time that he'll pitch whatever, and then he'll be done. Colorado will be his last stop. But see what you have for a couple of years. Hopefully Ursig the next couple of years can pitch awesome, can pitch you and help you get into the postseason this year, next year, the year after that, and then assess from that point moving forward, because you never know with a guy that's throwing 100. He doesn't have a lot of mileage on his arm, because he was a position player that switched to a pitcher.
He's also a big
in the minor
dude.
leagues.
That should hopefully.
But he hasn't been throwing 100 since he was 18 years old.
Correct.
He was a position player with the Brewers, and was in AAA and was their number 2 or 3 prospect as an outfielder. So if the Royals need a pinch hitter, Lorenzen, also Ursig.
They got some options.
They got
here.
a couple of guys that if they get into like an 18-inning game and they need to bring somebody in to go and pinch hit, hey Lorenzen, hey Ursig, we may need you to pinch hit there.
It's like Bumgarner right? It's like Bumgarner.
We've lost our DH in this game. That's okay. Ursig's on the mound.
We got Ursig. We're good. We're good.
It was the number 2 or 3 prospect for the Brewers as an outfielder.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be fine for an at-bat or two. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll talk with Kent Swanson at 11 o'clock. More Zone right after this. All right, wrapping up this hour. We'll get into some Chiefs in the noon hour, and we'll talk about 3 players that we think can help their cause tonight, 3 players that can hurt their cause tonight for making the team or earning spots, rotations, whatever that might be. And I want to get into some baseball again. Joey Votto retired officially yesterday, and he was one of the most enjoyable players in Major League Baseball. His personality, his quirkiness, his before his time appreciation for his type of game. So I want to talk a little bit about Joey Votto, and then I do wonder if we are watching currently one of the worst contracts in sports history. We'll talk about that as well. Ken Swanson next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock. We got some sports or leisure later on in the show. Let's talk some Chiefs football. Kent Swanson, KCSN, the KC Laboratory Podcast, joining us here in the zone. Kent, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Yeah, very happy week 3 of the preseason, TJ.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It is. Hopefully, it is a happy week 3 of the preseason. I'm not sure how happy it is for getting ready and how excited people are, but you know what? Let's start there, Kent. What will you be watching for tonight, if anything?
Yeah, I will be watching. So there is that. I'm still excited to watch this. Like, this is still football.
Yeah.
Injected into my veins. I'm excited to watch the young offensive linemen. So that's something that I've been paying attention to for the entirety of the preseason, just because I think this team has maybe a lot more inexperience in their depth on the offensive line than they've had historically. It doesn't seem like there's like a ton of veteran experience there. So getting to see Hunter Norzad, DJ Hansen, and take a step, but also that Ethan Driscoll, the Marshall tackle, who's 6'8", 320 pounds. I enjoyed watching him too. So I think there's some interesting young guys, and to see who maybe steps up, like that's one of the things I'm paying attention to the most right now.
I've sort of wondered, we've asked a couple of people this week, and I'll ask you as well, how many spots do you think are realistically still open for grabs on this team, and whether tonight makes a difference in that, or the team is going to decide, who those spots, who gets those spots and how they determine those things. But I don't know how much tonight will be the deciding factor as opposed to the overall training camp. But, going into tonight, how many spots do you think may still be available for someone to win?
I think there's probably 3 or 4 that are at least, under some consideration, right? Like, I think you could see a little bit of movement, just a small amount of movement at a receiver, and whether or not this team keeps 7. Like, I think Nico Remigio and Justin Ross might be fighting for a spot. I could see, Ethan Driscoll and Lucas Niang potentially fighting for a spot. 5 safety, like does Christian Roland Wallace find his way on the roster instead of one of the cornerbacks? Do the Chiefs only keep 5 cornerbacks? I think those are where a lot of the battles really lie right now. And I do think though that this is probably a roster that sees the Chiefs put in a few waiver claims, that sees them try to do a player for player trade with a couple of the positions of depth, but. I think even the guys that wind up making this roster, they might have to be competing with, the idea that somebody from outside could be taking their spot.
Interesting. What spots do you think that they may focus on if they do make a waiver claim or make a player for player trade? Is it maybe the obvious of the defensive side? We're looking at cornerback, maybe looking at defensive line. With Charles Omenihu out, and I want to talk about FAU here in just a little bit, but are those the spots? Is there another element, maybe interior offensive line, if they don't feel like they have enough from Caliendo, Norzad, or Hansen to step in and play if Tooney or Trey Smith were to go down, or Creed Humphrey? What do you think they'd be looking at positional-wise?
I'll give you 2. I think defensive end is one that makes a ton of sense, just because this team prefers to have more than 5 defensive ends on their roster. The Chiefs only have, I believe, 6 defensive ends even in camp right now. But, and I like Truman Jones. I'm a fan of Truman Jones. I think you can get better than Truman Jones. I think you might be able to find someone better than a Truman Jones, or you might be able to add a 6th defensive end that kind of fits more in the mold of what this Chiefs team typically is like. They like 6 defensive ends on their 53-man roster. So I would pay attention to defensive end as a place for this team, continue to take a look at anybody that might be hitting the market via trade, anybody that's cut down, that you might be able to find somebody. I'm also paying a little bit of attention just to running back, and it's not necessarily about determining. I think if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is kind of in a good space to play, I do think that he'll make the roster, and it's Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Carson Steele. But I don't think you just hand a roster spot to Denaric Prince based on what we've seen to this point. And so I think that's a place you could continually try to see if you can, find an improvement to that roster at the running back spot, especially since, I think the devaluation of the running back spot kind of means that there's a lot of players that could be available, in that waiver wire.
Yeah, the running back spot has been really fascinating this entire offseason and into training camp, because I'm looking at it and wondering, if Carson Steele doesn't play the way that he's been playing during training camp, I have no idea what that running back room would look like. If they would have already gone and got somebody else and brought somebody, a Jerick McKinnon or something like that, just to add a veteran presence or somebody that, maybe you can trust to a degree. But Carson Steele has certainly stepped up and played really good football through training camp. Is that going to translate into having, a good season? We'll see. The concern with, the guys behind Pacheco and even behind Carson Steele would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What's the headspace like? If everything's good there, then certainly I think he's on the team. I just don't know, what's going on there, how often that will sort of show itself and manifest itself in different symptoms and things that we've seen through training camp already, week to week, day to day even. And like you talked about with Deneric Prince, running back, I've gone back and forth a couple of times. Like, I have no clue what to do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If he's going to be on the team, if he's going to start on the IR. That was brought up to Andy Reid a couple of days ago and said, we're not even going there. We're not even thinking about that. That'll be something. Brett and those guys will figure some of those things out, but that's not even something we're thinking about or on the radar right now. But I certainly think it is part of the overall discussion and a possibility of what they do at running back if they don't feel like, or maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't feel like he's ready to put in the week-by-week workload to play an NFL season, that maybe he starts on the IR. And at that point, I don't know what the Chiefs do. Maybe it is Jerick McKinnon that they just go out and bring in and say, we've got at least 4 guys in here, or at least 3 guys in here we feel pretty good about. With Pacheco, McKinnon's going to be where he's supposed to be. Steele has played pretty well, and we'll see about Deneric Prince.
I'm not even sure how much, I'm not even sure how much, Jerick McKinnon even has left. And I love Jerick McKinnon.
Totally agree with you. To me, it's sort of like a desperation type. Like, who do you go and get at that point,
For sure. No, for sure. And, like, if you look at the running backs really available out there right now, there's really just not a ton of players that would make sense for this team. They're all somewhere on a roster currently. It doesn't mean that they won't be, some of them won't be coming available here sooner rather than later, but there definitely is some concern for sure about just what is even out there from a street creative perspective. Now, once cut downs hit, they might be a little bit more involved. But, one thing I do think when you look at, some of these positions, like the running back position, I think if Carson Steele hadn't taken a step, and look, our visibility on Carson Steele didn't really start in earnest until training camp opened to the public, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
But so they probably had an idea that that he was playing pretty well and might have been a guy that is in serious consideration. So they probably had a pretty good idea for a while. So they're going to have a little bit more information on that situation. But I do think the Clyde situation is probably the one that's worth the most monitoring, just because he's a guy that could really tip, really show what they have to do and kind of tip their hand on what they need to do to get that room right.
I think Carson Steele's on the team. I think the Chiefs really like Carson Steele. My read on what we've seen so far in these first couple of preseason games, and especially, the last, what was that, Saturday, I guess, the most recent preseason game. My read on it, and I'll see if you disagree, in that Carson Steele was playing a lot of snaps, but they threw a lot of things at him. Like, he was chipping, he was going out on a route, he was running, he was picking up a blitz. Like, it looked like to me that the Chiefs wanted to get him out there and throw as many different things at him just to see what he does and how he responds, to see if he is somebody that maybe the eyes in the game will back up what they're seeing in training camp.
Oh yeah, they threw everything they possibly could at him, and I think he performed very well.
Yeah.
I love that they did that, and I think that they've been working to get him into that situation in the first place. They probably had a pretty good idea, and they just wanted a little bit of confirmation with their eyes. They let him lead block. They let him pass protect a couple of times. They gave him the rock. They had him run an angle route out of the backfield.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, let's play every special teams, including like actually returning a ball. So I thought he passed that test. And my comfort Carson Steele, not necessarily completely stylistically, because I think there were a little bit of differences between the two, but he fits in like a Darrell Williams used to fit into this running back room where, he's not necessarily the flashiest guy. He's not going to just make a ton of people miss. But when you're talking about, the dirty work required to play the running back position of pass protection, being, capable of catching the football out of the backfield and getting yards that are there, that's Carson Steele for you right there. And so the positional versatility he has, being a little bit of a fullback, which I think even Darrell Williams played a few plays at fullback, if I remember correctly, in his time in Kansas City. They put him back there a little bit. And then, some special teams value there. Like, it's a great find by Brett Veach and company, and it's a great fit for a roster composition in that running back room.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network. Is there a level of concern for the depth at certain positions for this team? Give you an example. They had a number of guys last year that were able to step up and play good football when called upon, who are, starters around the league now. Allegretti stepped in for Joe Thuney, and he's a starter in the league. It was Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Drew Tranquill. So when Nick Bolton went down, Drew Tranquill filled in. Well, those three are all starters now. Mike Edwards on a different team, playing and starting, and he stepped in when Brian Cook went down. And Jaden Hicks certainly in that spot. Seems like if they get an injury there, are there depth concerns at certain spots for you that if the Chiefs were to get hit with an injury bug, that it could be more than problematic? Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot more unknowns at a few positions. And we talk about the offensive line. I think you can go the entire second-team offensive line. They're relying on a lot of rookies, and potentially 3 rookies, could be in the actually 4 if you count Kingsley Su'Matoa as the starter. They could very easily have 3 rookies in their 2 deep, in the backups. So there's just a lot of uncertainty there. Mike Caliendo really hasn't played a ton of snaps there as well. So I look at the offensive line. I think there's some concerns there. I talked a little bit about defensive end. It's the thinnest spot on the roster easily for me. When I look at Mike Dana and George Karlaftis are fine starters, but trying to find depth behind them, I think, is a big challenge. Malik Herring and Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I think, are the only 2 that are really worth giving run right now. And honestly, if you're going to look at snap counts, if you talk about snap counts in Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, I think Malik Herring might outsnap Felix Anudike-Uzomah, just because of the early down work where Malik Herring does a lot better against the run, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah looks a lot more like a guy that you just put in on third downs to rush the passer and not rely on him to try to hang up and hold up in the run game. So that's your defensive end rotation currently. I think you need to be looking really hard at trying to make improvements there.
Are you worried about FAU at all from what we saw last year, and then a hopeful improvement in what we have or haven't seen in these first couple of games in the preseason?
A little bit. I think we all, and even I think we talked this summer, kind of acknowledging this is Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a project. This is a kid that is extremely young. He's proven to have some success, in college football. There's some things he's got to work through. The thing that gives me pause is the thing that Steve Spagnuolo profiled early in training camp, saying, hey, look, we need him to be more physical, and we need him to develop a pass rush plan. We really haven't seen steps in that. We haven't seen flashes of improvement there. He's been quite terrible against the run, candidly. Seeing third-string tight ends, drive him up the field with consistency. That's been a big concern. That's a lack of physicality that we have, that we can kind of, point to there. The pass rush plan, the athleticism pops. There's a reason this guy was drafted as high as he was drafted. And he wasn't just high on the Chiefs board. He was considered in that, late day 1, day 2 range for a lot of teams. Because the athletic juice he does have, it shows that flashes, but he's not able to really leverage it in a way that allows him to make an impact on the football field right now. He doesn't have a great repertoire of pass rush moves, and he's struggled to string things together consistently. And right now it looks like he's just trying to win with athleticism still, and that gives some pause. I think they'll find a ways to utilize him and get him involved and try to help him make a few plays here or there. You could see him on stunts I think that's something that they could use him a lot of because he's pretty good at those. But they really need him to step up and show some juice as a pass rusher. And if they don't, they've got a big problem on their hands. I already think they have a big problem on their hands because that depth is quite concerning.
Yeah, just bide time until Aminu gets there. Kent Swanson, KCSN, and the KC Laboratory podcast. Let's talk about some of the positives that we've seen, and searching for positives, and it's this looking for a three-peat. But sort of the first world problems is that we can focus on depth and say, boy, there's really a concern as to the third and fourth defensive end on this team. But how improved do you think this offense will be from what they were last year, their lowest by far points per game at just under 22. The previous lowest was 28.2. So we're talking about almost a touchdown minus the extra point difference last year from what their worst season was under Patrick Mahomes. Last year, a blip in the radar, and they returned to form of averaging 4 touchdowns per game, 28.2, 29.2, 29.6, etc. Do they get closer to that? Is there somewhere in the middle? How improved do you think this offense can and will be this year?
Jason, we are so back.
Yes.
I'm telling you,
yes.
man. I think this is I think there's an acknowledgement that Patrick Mahomes kind of changed how defenses had to play elite quarterbacks when he first got into the league, and so the season where how he came on in his first year, and they weren't ready for it, and teams play a lot of middle field close coverage with the safety in the middle of the field, and I don't think we're ever going to be getting into that, right? So the Chiefs turned around and with Juju Smith-Schuster as wide receiver one, were the statistically best and most efficient offenses ever.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a space where the Chiefs can be 22 levels of efficient with more explosiveness. And I think that's in the range of possibilities for this team, especially when Hollywood Brown is back. I think this could be one of, if not the best offenses in the Patrick Mahomes era. And it's just because we've never seen this team have 4 skill players in the passing game at the same time like they will have this year. And I think, you've seen the steps that Xavier Worthy has taken. That is a terrifying proposition for teams to try to, deal with the vertical stretchability of him and also Hollywood Brown, by the way.
Right.
While handling, by the way, a generational tight end and and Rasheed Rice that can do great stuff after the catch, that you don't want to give space because if he can, get a little bit of acceleration, he can run through defenses. These are really well pieced together offensive parts, and just seeing I see the vision for it, and it's terrifying for the National Football League. Xavier Worthy doing what he did in week 2 was big, and I had a lot of confidence in him before the game anyway because I think he looked really good. I think he's had a great camp. And, I think you're forgetting, I think we easily forget that Travis Kelce and Rasheed Rice exist because everyone's so focused on the new toys. But, I think Kelce's going to have a great season as long as he doesn't get hurt right before the first game of the year. And I think Rasheed Rice sounds like he's going to be playing for the entirety of the season. And I think that guy's taking a step too. So, just the prospects of this thing is just an absolutely terrifying offense with 4 legitimate options that you're excited to see get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always say that. There isn't a Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle getting the ball. It's, when it's not Travis Kelce, Rasheed Rice, it's a Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy. Come on.
It's, the possibilities, and you start to think about what the season can be. You get really excited about all of it, that when those guys are on the field. And I know, there's a grain of salt. There's, backups out there for Detroit, whatever. But to watch the overreaction by the secondary of the Lions to Xavier Worthy, to actually leave your responsibility of guarding Travis Kelce to then be the third guy to make sure Xavier Worthy doesn't catch a deep pass. And again, I know it's second stringer, but that's going to there may be some, we talk about from a negative standpoint, the business decisions that Tyrann Mathieu was making in his last year, but there might be some business decisions that are made of, all right, well, I'm supposed to squeeze down on this particular route, but this guy may be getting burned by Xavier or Hollywood right now. I'm going to give up the 15 because we're not going to give up the 60 or 70 behind us and I got to make that decision because they're putting me in a position of, creating so much more space that every single blade of grass is going to have to be guarded, that we just did not see that last year. Like, it felt like a basketball team with no three-point shooters. Like, it was just all congested inside the arc. And now it feels like it's pace and space with the Warriors.
Well, now, it's like a couple guys came back with a jump shot, too, on top of adding some talent because there's a little bit more pressure off of them, right? And so, there's more space for Patrick Holmes to operate, too, if you think about it in that way. I think one thing to pay attention to, NFL coaches, they show what they want to show in the preseason, and they keep back what they don't want to. But I think the Chiefs, through some of the practices and some of the clips that have gotten filmed at practice, on top of what they did with Xavier Worthy in that game, they want NFL teams to respect the threat of Xavier Worthy now.
Yeah.
They are actively trying to establish that. I think you saw that with some of the plays that were open to the public. At training camp, I think you see that with, what they did with Xavier Worthy in Game 2 of the preseason. They want teams to honor and respect and know that that's a real threat. And so Xavier Worthy has helped this team tremendously already, because now it may force teams to play in coverage structures that are more top-down minded and allow more space just by his sheer presence and being able to establish that. It might give the Baltimore Ravens some pause about how they want to handle Week 1 because of his vertical ability. So I think the Chiefs were very intentional about what they let out there with what Xavier Worthy is capable of doing. I think they really wanted to.
5 days away from cut down to 53 men. Given the 4 players, wide receivers that we all think are givens, in Hollywood, Xavier, Rashee Rice, and Justin Watson, who are the other 3, assuming they keep 7, who are your other 3 wide receivers that you think make the team?
So outside of Worthy, Brown, and Rice, I think Sky Moore and Justin Watson are locks at this point, which I can't believe I'm saying about Sky Moore, but I think he's earned it. I think Nicole Hardman, he got podium time yesterday.
That's right.
Or this week. So,
yeah.
I mean, that seems to tell me that he's doing it. I think they do keep 7. Right now, I think it's 60% Nico Remigio, 40% Justin Ross making the roster. Kadarius Toney's gone. Give me Nico for now. I think Dave Tobe's going to really push to have that guy. I think the return ability and some depth there is going to be valuable. Nico might wind up being, a key returner on this team and actually being a 53 or a game day roster player too.
Yeah, when Dave Tobe said, I'm going to pound the table for that guy, for Nico Remigio, I mean, don't we always talk about a Dave Tobe guy or two, that 53-man roster? This guy made the squad. What's a Dave Tobe guy? Well, I mean, if he's going to pound the table for Nico Remigio, then I think there's a pretty decent chance that Nico's going to be on the team. Although, if there's pushback from, other coaches or, Andy Reid to not have Nico on the team, the pushback might be, hey, look what Sky Moore was able to do. We already got Sky Moore on the team, and he had a couple of those pretty good returns. So, not necessarily punt return, but certainly on the kickoff return. But yeah, I think I like that 60-40 Nico and Justin Ross. And I'm with you on Kadarius Toney. I think the time has come to an end for him in Kansas City. So maybe he's playing tonight in the 3rd or 4th quarter. Who knows? We'll find out who is out there. Kent Swanson, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, as always, appreciate the time, brother. Looking forward to our next conversation in a couple of weeks when we'll be leading up to the Chiefs and Ravens. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, enjoy the Ian Book experience.
I don't know that there's going to be enjoyment, but I'll be watching. Ken Swanson. You're the man, Ken. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, anytime.
Ken Swanson, KC Laboratory Podcast, kcsn.substack.com. Yes, it will be an experience. We'll see. I just want him to run the plays. That's all. Just run the plays. Just, take the drop back. 3, 5, 7, however many steps. And survey, let the play develop before running. That's all. Just have a little patience there in the pocket. And if you get sacked, you get sacked. But let's try to run some plays here. I'm interested to see how much like a guy like Carson Steele plays tonight. Like, I know we joked about Kadarius Toney maybe playing in the second half, but they threw so much at Carson Steele last week. All different types of ways that he would be used as a running back. just throw things at him to see how he responds, and boy, did he pass the test. And you wonder if they do that again tonight just to see, throw some more things at him to see how he responds, or just to get more and more reps, things like that. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more zone right after this. Thank you to Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. At KCSN, he does have an article up there talking about players the Chiefs may look at getting at the waiver wire, trading for, depending on what happens tonight, depending on what happens over the next few days, what they believe their 53-man roster looks like, how comfortable they are with the 53 players, how comfortable they are with their depth as well. Jahan Dotson has just been traded from the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Maybe not just traded, but I'm just now seeing it.
It's Jahan Dotson, who was a
Traded?
22. He was a 2022 first-round pick, but
I liked Jahan Dotson a lot. Coming out of college, I wanted the Chiefs to get Jahan Dotson.
It's Dotson and a 2025 fifth-round pick, and then the Eagles are sitting back to Washington, a third-round pick and 2 seventh-rounders in 2025.
Yeah. So they're trading a third and 2 sevenths, and they're getting Dotson and a fifth-rounder back.
Correct.
It's odd because I was wondering about Dotson the last couple of weeks or so because the talk out of Washington was like, he almost maybe not going to make the team or had moved down the depth chart. And I'm like, dude, I still like Jahan Dotson. Like a hell of a route runner, contested catcher.
He's 24.
Right. He's played 2 years in the NFL. And
with bad to mediocre quarterbacks and coaches.
Terrible quarterbacks and coaches.
Well, for bad quarterbacks, that at least threw the ball a lot. So he had some opportunities.
Yeah.
I will say that about Taylor Heineke.
Here's the thing, and maybe they're.
If I go out and shoot 100 3-pointers in an NBA game and I don't make above 30%, it doesn't make it any better.
Right. I'm a volume shooter that's still not good.
You get opportunities.
So and he was playing with the Scary Terry, but the offense just wasn't all that good that he was playing on. But maybe it's the one bitten twice shy with Kadarius Toney. But they traded a third-rounder for the first-round pedigree of Kadarius Toney. This would be trading a third and 2 sevenths and getting a fifth back for the first-round pedigree of Jahan Dotson, who, to me, is a better receiver than Kadarius Toney. He wouldn't be he can just change the game. I mean, just put the ball in his hands, man. Just see what Kadarius Toney could do, man. Toney with the ball in his hands, it's just like, the defense is so scared. You got to find ways to get him the ball. I mean, I don't care if we hand him the ball on the sidelines. Just get him the ball. Doesn't really matter. Put him out and play baseball as long as there's a ball in his hands. He's so good. He's a game changer.
Sarcasm.
Not from them.
That's true.
From me.
That's true.
But maybe it's like, okay, has that worked out? I think it's worked out. They got a Super Bowl out of it. Whether they would have won it without Kadarius Toney, probably. We don't know for a fact if they would have still scored that touchdown after the punt return. Don't know. I know that they got every single yard that was available to them that they wanted in that second half. But it doesn't mean that there could have been a guy that caught the ball, gets hit in the wrong spot, and the ball pops out. So you don't have to worry about driving 60 yards after that punt return because of Kadarius Toney's amazing moves and punt return and getting down inside the 10-yard line. You score a touchdown. So I'm good with it. Third-round draft pick, it was fine. It was worth the deal. So maybe they looked at that and said, we don't need to be trading any other third-rounders. We wouldn't trade a third-rounder for Matthew Judon, which, if I'm going to trade a third-rounder this year, it's not just the third-rounder because Judon's the third-rounder and the contract.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about a third-rounder, what's more beneficial for the Chiefs? It'd be Matthew Judon. So third-rounder rather than Jahan Dotson.
I just think it's because you have to throw the contract in
right,
there. I think
exactly.
it's too hard to say just third-rounder.
Well, let me just say this.
Then L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, Dotson he wasn't available. Dotson or Judon. Judon's a more impactful player for this team. Dotson's cheaper.
Yeah.
It would cost less to go and trade for him. But I don't think you're finding a wide receiver on the waiver wire like Jahan Dotson, and he's better than what you would have there at the end. Like if you're talking about, is it Justin Ross? Is it Nico Remigio? Is it Kadarius Toney as your seventh wide receiver? Okay, Jahan Dotson and Sky Moore's your seventh wide receiver.
I don't think he moves the needle that much based on the impact he would have on this current roster, unless you're saying Hollywood's legit only a 1 year, which most likely he is.
Yeah.
So then you're trying to find a
left for
replacement. The issue I have with Dotson, and this is going to be, I hope people don't take this.
They're going to. I'm going to.
They're going to.
I will.
The underlying metrics have basically been Sky Moore.
Oh yeah, that's why Washington's moving on from him. They're not.
But that's my point.
They're cutting bait while they can get something.
The
for
Chiefs
him.
already have a Jahan Dotson at home, and his name is Sky Moore. You look at the overall yards. Of course, Dotson, because he's had more opportunity. But you want to look at
Sky Moore's had the opportunity. He came in as like the first or second receiver last year.
I get it. My point is Dotson played a lot more snaps than Sky Moore.
Well, yeah, but Dotson has 10 more touchdowns than Sky Moore in his career than Sky Moore does in his career.
I'm saying
including postseason.
I'm saying the underlying numbers of yards per route run, all of those metrics, the underlying metrics that take out that can somewhat take into account the target share and all snap count share. Sky Moore and Jahan Dotson are very close. Jahan Dotson has actually been horrendous in yards after catch, like hilariously bad. Sky Moore over doubles yards after catch. When Sky Moore gets the ball in his hand, he makes something happen. Jahan does not.
When?
Of course. Of course.
When he does that.
It's like the Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith argument of like, Emmitt Smith had one of the best offensive lines in Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman, and he has more rushing yards. But Walter Payton was running around with 11 guys chasing him. And it's like Jahan Dotson has had terrible quarterbacks, and Sky Moore has had Mahomes. So who has a bigger excuse of
They have the same catch percentage, basically. Sky Moore is just slightly better. So, again, it's not like Taylor Heinicke's not throwing him uncatchable balls.
They have the same catch percentage, which is a terrible indictment on Sky Moore.
Yeah.
If they have the same catch percentage, and you're talking about Heineke and whoever,
look at Rashee Rice last year,
and
as soon as he
and Mahomes
it
is
out.
throwing him the ball, like Sky Moore. How many years will Sky Moore have 1,000 yards receiving in his Chiefs career?
No,
because he's got 494 right now, and he's got 2 years left in his career.
I get what you're
total?
saying.
He's got 494 total in his career. Will he have 1,000 yards total in his career?
This was why I said
because Dotson's already got 1,000 yards.
This is why I said this. This is why I said people are going to take this and run with it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Dotson is not better than Sky. I'm not saying that.
In my defense, I told you before you said
you
that.
said
that
you're
going to.
You're gonna run.
I
off
didn't even
of
know where you were going with it. I ended up doing that.
My point is, for as big of a disappointment as Sky has been, Dotson's been the exact same thing for Washington. One is a second-round draft pick.
Right.
One is a first-round 16th overall. Sky Moore is half a year younger than Jahan Dotson. By the way, again, Dotson's still young. He's 24. Sky Moore is still 23, about to turn 24, but it's half year younger. My point is, you're kind of looking at the same guy. You're kind of looking at a similar.
If the Chiefs would have taken Jahan Dotson at 16th overall and he put up those exact same numbers, it'd be an issue. It's an issue.
I think Dotson would have put the same numbers as Sky Moore would have in this offense.
Well, no, I think he would have put up better numbers because I think he's a better receiver. But if Jahan Dotson put up the numbers he put up in Washington with the Chiefs the last 2 years as the 16th overall pick, then we'd be talking about, hey, they got something for him. You know, they got a third-rounder back. But he's not that for the Chiefs, though. He wouldn't be that for the Chiefs. He'd be a third and a seventh rounder to get back a fifth rounder for the Chiefs, where Sky Moore's numbers are underwhelming for a second-round pick.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so they would be giving up the equivalent of like a fourth. So they'd give up a third and a seventh, they'd get a fifth back. So it's like the equivalent of a fourth round or whatever. I'd have to do all the math and everything to what the equivalent would be. Like the Orlando Brown thing when they gave up a first rounder and then what they got back. And then after all the different draft picks, it was like the equivalent of like the 48th pick or something like that in the draft. So it was like a second rounder, even though they gave up specifically a first rounder. So maybe this is like the equivalent of a fourth rounder. But if you're doing that and saying that this guy played in Eric Bieniemy's offense last year, so he's at least got familiarity with what the scheme is going to be for the Chiefs, so he wouldn't have to come in and completely learn it.
Yep.
He'd just have to forget what he was learning this offseason for this, which he's going to have to do anyway now, no matter where he goes. To me, if it's the equivalent of a fourth rounder, I probably would have been on board with doing that fourth rounder for 2 years of Dotson to see what you have. And I have at least two guys in a Sky Moore and a Dotson that hopefully one of those guys can be the fifth wide receiver on this team, or maybe even better, or Dotson goes out there and shows what he has, and now you can walk on Hollywood Brown because you don't need maybe the speed of Hollywood. You needed the speed of Hollywood before you got Xavier Worthy. Now you got Hollywood and Worthy and McColl and Watson. If Hollywood walks, well, now you got a guy in Dotson who has a great catch radius, runs good routes, doesn't give you yak, but you get that with Rashee Rice. You get that with Xavier Worthy in the speed. He would be a profile that you can add to the wide receiver group and not here's a first rounder, and it's
Yeah.
him and Scary Terry on the outside, and they're going to make every quarterback better.
I just don't see him being a big needle mover, and that's kind of where it comes down to. Is I don't think it's worth it even for the fourth rounder. That fourth rounder, again, I'm being a little obtuse here. I get it by saying that's L'Jarius Sneed.
Could be. Or could be Josh Williams.
And I would take Josh Williams. I would take a guy who's going to play a lot of snaps this year over a wide receiver 5. And that's what it comes down to for me. The value.
It's wide receiver 5 who could be wide receiver 4 or 3 or could need. I don't know. It depends on.
It raises the floor.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes. Philadelphia is in way more need of
yes.
of
If you
him
look
than
if you look at
Chiefs
the Eagles wide receiver room,
because it was John Ross.
It drops off a cliff after.
It was John Ross.
No, it was speaking of McCole Hardman to a degree in second rounders. It was Paris Campbell.
Oh yeah, wow.
Was I think their third receiver because Paris Campbell, McCole Hardman were like in that same category, in that group together. It was like, all right, these guys are deep threats. These guys are take the top off the defense. Who you going with? Chiefs traded up, got McCole Hardman. It's like, okay, they could have stayed where they were and got Paris Campbell. Let's compare the guys when their career's up. McCole's been better than Paris Campbell.
Yes.
So if it was just that, maybe Paris Campbell would have been better than McCole, but Paris Campbell has been injured a lot in his career. So maybe that's a little bit of a difference of availability. But just sort of having another guy that's got a first-round profile, and not everybody's going to end up being
very Brett
that.
Veach. It's very Brett Veach. Take a chance on a
but
first-rounder who has.
The Eagles needed him way more, so maybe the Chiefs were only willing to give up a 5th. We'll give you a 5th and get back a 7th or something like that.
Again, our tax on our trades is a lot higher as well than other teams.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the same division, though. That's
a good
division
point.
and conference. That's the Eagles.
But again, maybe the Chiefs were looking at going, well, we got 4 wide receivers we feel good about, and Sky Moore as our 5th receiver, if that's the 5th receiver, whatever. And so, yeah, we're interested in Dotson. We'll give you a 5th and a 6th, and you give us back, we'll swap 6th or whatever, and the Eagles were like, no, we can get a 3rd even though we're giving up a 5th back to them. We'll take the 3rd and give back the 5th to the Eagles because the Eagles are probably willing to pay more because who's going to be out there on the waiver wire for the Eagles to bring in as a wide receiver versus Jahan Dotson, who the last 2 years has been the number 2 receiver, 2 or 3 depending on Curtis Samuel.
Legit could be a wide receiver the Chiefs cut. I mean, like it legit could because the Eagles are in that much.
If they cut Kadarius Toney, the Eagles may go and get Kadarius Toney.
Brightburn,
Remember,
John Ross.
He's the punt. The punt return was against the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
They may go and bring him in. Like
and
the Chiefs may cut Justin Ross, and they go get Justin Ross. Like their wide receiver situation is in much more dire straits. Again, after A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yes, yeah.
After those guys, they have some issues at the wide receiver spot.
The Chiefs are trying to build a complete 53, and I get looking forward to next year if Hollywood's gone, if McColl's gone, whatever happens with Justin Watson. I get that. I mean, next year could be a completely different wide receiver group. I understand that, but for this year, where does he fit onto the roster right now? Special teams as well. You like Nico, you like Sky Moore. If somehow both those guys don't make it, who both could be on the on the outside looking in, well, we can talk about it a little more later on. Because you bring in a Jahan Dotson, well, he's not going to be your kick returner. So now you're saying it's just Carson and McColl. That's all you have back there as a kick returner. I don't know how much Dave Tobe rocks with that. Again, I'm not thinking of even the wide receiver aspect of this as much as I am the overall special teams, the overall who affects a game more. Wide receiver 5/6/7 as he plays 4 snaps a game, or a guy who's going to be doing special teams every single game.
And if you're looking at the bigger picture and not just specifically this year or maybe even next year with Dotson. Okay, so we know the Chiefs in the position they are with the salary cap. You need draft picks. And Brett Veach has shown when he's had a volume of draft picks in a particular draft, he's been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, one of the best drafts we've seen in Chiefs history. Well, those guys are coming up for contracts. So you're going to have to replenish those spots. Well, you've got a 3rd rounder for L'Jarius already next year. And if you were to trade this 3rd, that's the L'Jarius Sneed 3rd rounder. So to bring in Dotson. So going into next year, your 3rd rounder then would be 1 year of a wide receiver in Dotson. And then you would get a 5th back, right? But as opposed to now you've got 2 3rd rounders. You got a 1st, you got a 2nd. And you can package some things if need be. You can trade back if need be because you got to start replenishing some depth pieces on this team.
Yep.
Also, some starters on this team. Nick Bolton may walk.
Yeah.
Trey Smith may walk.
Creed Humphrey. We assume that he's going to get that contract, but we don't know.
I think Creed's going to be taken care of. But I wonder if what's taken a while with Creed is that Creed's going, yes, I want to set the center market. Great, we do too. But I want to set the center market with guard numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's continue talking.
Yeah.
Because we want to take care of you. And he's going, well, hold on. Why is a right or left guard getting more money than a center?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that's setting all the protections. I'm snapping it to Holmes. I'll be better at that, I promise. But why am I getting $14 million and a guard on the free agent market's getting $20? No, I want 18.
It's kind of like tight ends at this point right now to an extent. Final thought I want to say, which in regards to wide receiver 5, 6, and special
7,
teams, and
8.
6, also even 6 and 7 in special teams right here. Justin Ross was basically wide receiver 6 last year. He played in 10 games. 10 games. He had 11 targets, 6 receptions. This is not a knock on Justin Ross. This is not what I'm trying to do. My point is I'm picking...
How many games was he active for? Well, I guess
10 games.
Well, he played in 10 and he was suspended for
He
6
played
or 7.
in 10 games.
Yeah, he was suspended
active
for the other ones.
Yeah, so he was...
So he's pretty much active every week. He was not suspended.
Correct. Active in 10 games and had 11 targets.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 6, 7, they're not making an impact game to game.
And that was a bad wide receiver group, too, and they were
That-
searching.
so my
That
point
was
is-
also Kadarius Toney being injured.
I view special team. This is not on Justin Ross. This is just the positional value that the Chiefs have. That spot, to me, you have a bigger impact game to game on special teams. Those guys, the Nico Remigios, than do the Justin Rosses.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, that's where I look at it as the top 4 that we've talked about, and then the next 3 to get to 7 would be, to me, McCole, Sky, and Remigio over Justin Ross.
And it's not knocking Justin.
Toney.
It's because I don't care about receiving as much on 6. Give me special teams.
Yeah.
You want to know a little side note here on who the Commanders' starting receiver to replace him is going to be?
Well, they lost Samuel to the Bills.
Not Byron Pringle.
Hold on. Is it? That's who I was thinking.
DeMarcus Robinson.
He's actually starting over Byron Pringle as a rookie.
Who'd they get as a rookie?
Luke McCaffrey.
No kidding.
So that might tell you about how that camp battle was going between Jahan Dotson.
Well,
and
again,
McCaffrey.
the news was not great. I thought there was a chance Dotson would be cut.
And
but they got something for him, so good for them.
That's
for
what I was
going to
say. Is you are willing to trade interdivision if you're going to cut a guy, and they're going to give you draft assets for a guy you're already planning on cutting. That's actually on the Eagles being desperate, like you guys were saying, for a third wide receiver.
McCaffrey was a third-round pick.
That's awesome.
Third-rounder Luke McCaffrey. So there you go. All right, we'll take a timeout. Although, really, the second target there in Washington after Terry McLaurin has been Sennett.
You're right.
You're right. Is my guy. He just, they just couldn't do it in the second round.
Ben Sennett's awesome.
Couldn't do it at number 53. They traded up to get Kingsley, and it was like, do you want to use the capital to get Kingsley? Like you would have to trade up a little bit further. But
also,
good for
the
him.
only reason Ben Sennett isn't starting is because Zach Ertz is the starter, and he's second string, which means he's their second tight end.
That's 12 personnel, baby.
I'll give it a few weeks.
I agree.
I'll give it a few weeks.
I think Zach Ertz is there because his name is Zach Ertz.
Ben Sennett's that guy that's going to be drafted later in fantasy leagues, and by week 10, they're like, crap, he's got Ben Sennett in too? Like, that sucks.
Dynasty football, Ben Sennett.
Yeah, but even year to year, he would be a waiver wire pickup. But Dynasty, late pick for tight ends. Yeah, I'm not giving away anything that I'm thinking. It's what a lot of people, especially around here, you know who Ben Sennett is. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour next. We'll talk some football, some Chiefs football on the side of the break. We'll get into 3 players that can help their cause tonight, 3 players that can hurt their cause tonight in the game that we expect to play. Also, Jeff Passan an hour ago tweeting out the best trade deadline performance this year so far, Kansas City. And then puts the numbers since July 30th. Lucas Erceg, 0 ERA. DeYoung, what he's done. Michael Lorenzen, 1.99 ERA. And then said others that have done well, Dodgers, Padres, D-backs. But Jeff Passan, best trade deadline performance by players they've acquired as an overall group.
That's winning on the margins, baby.
That's more than, I mean, it's winning on the margins and winning on the actual scoreboard too, man. That's pretty legit. We'll take a timeout. We'll talk some Chiefs football. We'll get into those 6 players, 3 that can hurt, 3 can help their cause tonight. Next. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Heading up until 2 o'clock. We got Sports or Leisure coming up an hour from now.
Leisure.
Sportsy. Another trade in the NFL. Panthers and Seahawks have traded. The Seahawks have traded for Panthers rookie linebacker Michael Barrett. The Panthers have acquired cornerback Michael Jackson.
Hee.
The Panthers said, "Shimon, let's do this."
Shimon.
Shimon.
Panthers, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Panthers?
It's not exactly a thriller of a deal that we're talking about here.
Oh, come on. Just beat it.
That was bad. That's bad, and you know it.
I'm just a man.
You're
You know what? I might have to be the man in the mirror.
I wish you would look at him every once in a while and say, do better.
Things aren't always black and white, Jason, okay?
I know. There's a All right, so there you go. Now there's 2 trades in the last hour as we're getting closer to cut down. It's trade for your 53rd man on your roster from my 53rd man on the roster season.
And a 7th.
Yeah, over the next few days. Here's a condition. It's a conditional 7th. It's conditional 7th season.
Yeah, we'll restock the Coke machine.
That's right. Conditional 7th season. We're going to go ahead and trade that, and depending on what happens, that'll conditionalize up to a 6th. But we're going to take that guy that you may have cut anyway, but we'll find out. So that's what's going on. A couple of trades. Jahan Dotson traded to the Eagles from the Commanders, and Michael Jackson and Michael Barrett have been traded for each other. The Panthers cut Lamar Jackson last week and then traded for Michael Jackson. So it's a different type of celebrity there. Lamar Jackson, the cornerback they got for Michael Jackson, the cornerback. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810 to join us. All right, so we're watching tonight's game. You watching, Sterling?
Yes.
Dylan, you going to watch?
Begrudgingly.
I am working the Chiefs
that's right,
post-game show with Jack Johnson.
That's right. Is Jack going to watch?
Yeah. We'll all watch me, him, Kyle Collier, and Cobell Hudson.
Very good. I will watch as well. I don't know how much I will be taking specific notes on tonight's game as I did the first couple of preseason games or anywhere near what I do for every regular season game.
Yeah.
I'll be watching. We'll see how entertained I will be. Again, if you don't have 38 The Spot, the Chiefs stream the games on their website. So you can go and watch it that way. If you don't have 38 The Spot, the game is on 38 The Spot tonight. If you can't find it.
What channel?
It's 38 The Spot. If you can't find it, just tweet Mick or email him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's fine with that. That's the way he likes to communicate with people.
What's his email account?
That I actually don't know.
What's
Dylan,
his phone number?
Dylan, what's his
text
email?
him?
Let me get that. Hang on.
Dylan, I was going to say, Dylan, you've emailed him a number of times in the last couple of weeks.
I got it. Hang on.
Half the mean emails to Mick Schaefer were from different emails that Dylan created Saturday
I just
morning.
paid one of those farms to just spam send 1,000 emails.
Saturday morning,
Yeah.
that's what he did. He was just getting ready, and I want you to send these off at roughly 3:10.
It's money well spent.
3:10 Central Time.
Dylan
please.
Michaels or Mylan?
Oh, nice catch. Nice catch. I could see where you were
That was
going
close.
there.
That was very
close.
Did you catch
called-
that on your own, or did you stop?
Called learning.
Okay.
That's called growth right here.
Was it a planned stop, or was it a stop that you actually heard it in your mind right before you said
I
it?
heard it in my mind. I go,
Okay, very good.
Mylan. And, I almost actually said it that time.
Yeah.
Like out loud that time.
It was a fella in a previous life in a post-game show that was reading some texts that came in, and he would read the names of the people that were sending the text. And let's just say the fella's name was Mr. Hunt.
Yeah.
First name Mike.
Mike.
And he read that. He's like, this one comes in from.
That's tough, man.
Comes in from Ben Dover.
And then just read the whole thing and then just went on and continued talking about the game. Didn't even realize it. Never realized until we played it back a lot. Never realized it. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810. Do we want to start with their hurt or the help? You want to start the three players that can hurt themselves, hurt their cause.
Let's say help first. Let's
or
go help first.
Their cause in tonight's game.
3 players that can help the most.
3 players that can help their cause the most tonight. I didn't rank these 1 through 3. I guess I could have. Did you rank them 1 through 3?
I have them ranked 1 through 3. But
so you want to start with number 1
They're
then?
kind of interchangeable.
So you want to start with number 1?
I don't give a hoot. They're all interchangeable at this point.
Okay. So
I know you're trying to rile me up, Jason. I know you're trying to.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. My number 3, and this is like I had like a couple of honorable mentions, but my number 3, I ended up going with C.J. Hansen randomly.
Yeah, it's fair.
That was my number 3 because I don't have him on the team right now.
Yep.
I think he's in the mix. He also might be a guy that maybe he makes the squad, or maybe the Chiefs might look to pick somebody up on waivers because he hasn't done enough. You know what I mean? Can he solidify himself and say, not only am I worthy of a job, practice squad, I think he'll be on there because they just drafted him.
Yeah, I agree.
So not only am I worthy of a job, I'm worthy of a job, and you don't have to then go and bring somebody else in the interior there. The numbers as they start to work out, like we'll see how many of those interior offensive linemen they're going to keep. But you know you've got Creed, you know you got Trey, you know you got Tooney, Caliendo, Norzad. There's 5 guys already. You know, who else is going to be on the squad for this Chiefs team? So I went C.J. Hansen as my 3rd, if we're ranking him 1 through 3, guy who can help his cause tonight in the game. Sterling, Dylan, either one of you want to go second?
C.J. Hansen was just on the outside. He was like an honorable mention. I went Irv Smith, which I don't even know how much he's going to play.
Irv
tonight.
Smith was one of my honorable mentions,
Yeah.
and I ended up not go. I think he's going to play because he's the 4th tight end right now. So
I agree.
Somebody has to play tight end.
He's a veteran, but I think if he shows out and he does a lot, I think he can help his cause. I really do. I have him on the outside looking in. He looked really good during training camp and OTAs, right? That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason, he's been fine. Hasn't really flashed the same as we thought he was going to. I think for me, Irv Smith is because he's got to show out because he has NFL experience, most likely going up against a lot of guys who might not be NFL players.
Yeah.
He should have a big opportunity tonight. So I'll go Irv Smith.
Okay. And I think Irv Smith, so no idea about what's going on with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay, we've talked about that, and if he's going to be on the team. If he's on the team, I think they keep 4 running backs. Pacheco, Steele, Edwards-Helaire, Prince. And if they don't keep 4 running backs, then maybe that's Irv Smith, or maybe that's a 10th offensive lineman, which could be C.J. Hansen, as opposed to I've got 9 offensive linemen them keeping, and Hansen's on the outside looking in. Dylan, who'd you go with to help their cause the 3rd most?
So I kind of went with like who can't hurt really their cause more. They can only help it tonight if that works as well.
Yeah.
So we're going 1st or 3rd? I apologize.
Third.
Okay. I'm going to go Kamal Haddon just because I feel like he really can't hurt it anymore. He's kind of been buried in the depth chart.
It's hard to hurt his cause any more than he already has.
And I think he can actually help it tonight and do good and against some backups as well and put some good tape out there in case, he does end up on the outside looking in.
Because he's looked lost a lot.
Yeah.
He is. He's looked like an athlete project cornerback that doesn't seem to be getting it as quick as Williams. They might have some. Watson. They might have something in these guys. We're not seeing that from Kamal Haddon like we were early with Williams and Watson.
Which is fine.
It's
by the
totally
way,
fine.
it's totally. This is the normal 6th round developmental corner.
Right. The Ward and Snead and throw in Williams and Watson are not necessarily the norm.
Rashad Fenton even is not the norm. I mean, I feel like people always forget about him, but he had a really good rookie year. First, 2 years?
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So those are the 3. My second is Keith Taylor, cornerback for the Chiefs. But a guy who I have making the squad in my 2nd round of that. My 1st round had him on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
I switched him and Nick Jones. I know they like Nick Jones in the slot, but Nick Jones barely played in the game on Saturday. And again, I watch him play, and I'm like, I don't really see much from Nick Jones. Like I'm like, maybe he'll be on the team because he's the backup slot corner, but they like Keith Taylor. So I think he goes out there, and if he shows that he had the pick last week, but he also had the play where he vacated the area that ended up being the touchdown because he didn't, play it correctly on that particular rep. If he does the better side more often tonight, then I think he can maybe earn a job or solidify his job on this team. So Keith Taylor, number 2 for me. Who's your number 2?
Yeah, it's Keith Taylor.
Okay.
I went back and forth between him and Echo Boydo.
Oh.
And just based on the amount of snaps that we have seen, I like Echo Boydo. I liked him when he came out of K-State.
Mm-hmm.
I was pounding the table for him.
You and Dave Tobe.
Me and Dave Tobe, we had the pounding table. Pause. And I think Keith Taylor, though, is starting to become a guy that's leapfrog Echo Boydo. So,
I think
it's a bummer.
I think it may come down to Keith Taylor or Nick Jones making the squad. I guess I could put Nick Jones on this too because
that's actually who. If we want to skip mine, that's how I had Nick Jones was for the reasons you guys
as your
were talking about.
number 2.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect because I mean it kind of feels like so. I think they're going to at least keep 5 cornerbacks, and it sort of feels like Kelvin Joseph is on the team.
Yeah,
from
that's
all indications. That's
yes,
the 5th one.
If
they keep
agreed.
6, is it Nick Jones? Is it Keith Taylor? Is it Echo Boydo?
You'll hear my number 1. It's going to be fun.
Oh, interesting.
It's going to be fun.
Number 1, my number 1 is Nico Remigio. To sort of solidify, if he has a big return and he shows he can handle himself, wide receiver, not fumble the ball, don't jump unnecessarily for the ball, just simply do the wide receiver stuff while having a couple of big returns, then it makes it easier for Dave Tobe to pound the table for your special teams guy if the Chiefs feel like this guy's a good enough receiver to be our 7th receiver.
I want to see the table, by the way. I want to see this table.
It's a pretty big table. You've seen Hard Knocks. The guys sit around that big table. It's a big conference room and everything. A pretty big table. I don't know if Andy Reid, if they're on the opposite side of the room, they may not even hear the table being pounded way on the other side. Who's your number 1? Hoosier.
Christian Roland Wallace.
Wow. I didn't even think he's that close.
I think Christian Roland Wallace is about to be the guy.
I didn't know that guy's name.
No. You know how there's always a guy who no one expects and he makes the 53.
Huh.
I think if Christian Roland Wallace has a great game, you've seen the snap counts, he's played a ton.
He played a ton in the game on Saturday.
I'm starting to think that Christian Roland Wallace is jumping the Keith Taylors, he's jumping the Echo Boydos, he's jumping the Nick Jones.
And is he a tweener? Like they like him at safety, like him at cornerback?
They like the versatility. And so I'm starting to get that's kind of my, if you want to say hot take.
Okay.
That's kind of my wild card dart is Christian Roland Wallace.
I didn't even have him in honorable mention, so I like that. Wow.
So,
okay. You're number 1, Dylan?
I'm going to go Felix, just because he's kind of had a lackluster showing so far in the preseason. Everyone's kind of getting on him for being a little behind where everyone expected him to be. So I think tonight is a massive chance for him to erase kind of all those visuals from the first 2 preseason games.
So let's go to the hurt. Who can hurt their cause tonight? My number 3 in hurting their cause tonight is Lucas Niang. It's my number 3 because, and I kind of combine Ethan
as well.
Okay, great. Yeah. Ethan Driscoll was an honorable mention for help their cause.
Yes. Yes.
So it was kind of like a Niang Driscoll because I think Driscoll's on the outside looking in. I think Niang is the 4th tackle that they'll be keeping. But if he goes out there and struggles, and it's like, and if Ethan Driscoll the same night goes out there and shows that he's playing a little bit better and more reps, then do the Chiefs go the way of, well, we'll keep Driscoll and move on from Niang.
The upside move.
So that we don't lose Driscoll in waivers if they think that that's a possibility. The risk you would be running at that point would be your 9 offensive linemen would include Kingsley, Hunter Norzad, maybe C.J. Hansen, and could it be Ethan Driscoll?
And also Caliendo hasn't played a ton either.
Yeah.
And Wanya hasn't played a ton.
But I just named rookies, though.
Yeah.
Kingsley, Norzad, Hansen, and Driscoll. Like if you're talking about guys that can, second year Wanya, like you talked about, but just rookies, they're already going to have 2 of the 9 guys are going to be rookies.
Yeah.
Does Hansen or Driscoll make the squad? And now 3 of the 9 are rookies on their offensive line. I don't know, but Niang was my number 3. Your number 3.
That was great because I actually had both. Same reason you had Driscoll in honorable mention for the help, and then her
Niang.
was nice. Niang for the HM. I had my number 3 was Nico Remigio. I know he was yours and your
He's
help.
my number one help, yeah.
He's my number 3 hurt because, again, I think he's on the 53. I think Dave Tobe gets his guy. He always gets a couple of his guys. I think Nico is one of those guys. But if he goes out and just looks brutal in the return game, if he again, I don't need to see greatness from him. I need to see him look good. I need to see him become a again, I talked about Justin Ross last year in 10 games, 11 targets, but he at least looked like he could make a play out there. Like it wasn't just it wasn't horrendous. I need to see Nico make a couple plays against CB 4s and 5s out, the guys who are not going to make it. So that's where I see Nico. As long as he doesn't look bad, I think he makes the team, but he can hurt himself if he goes out and has himself a bad day.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I went Nico number 1 in help because I'm thinking about if the guy goes out and plays well, he's got a job. Like he's on an NFL team. But in that way, if you feel like if Dave Tobe's already pounding the table for him to be on the team, then the only thing he can do is hurt his cause tonight.
Yes.
If he goes out and struggles, if you already feel like you've got a champion who's going to get, like every year, that's a Dave Tobe guy. Dave Tobe got a couple guys on the roster. There's a Dave Tobe guy. And that might be Nico Remigio already, unless he goes out there and just, plays terribly. So I like that one as the number 3. Your number 3 was Niang?
Yeah. Same reasons. I mean, he is kind of on the outside looking in. They're trying to get Wanya Morris into the left tackle spot because of the fact that I don't think they really trust Niang.
Or right tackle spot.
My bad. Just a swing tackle.
Just swing tackle. Yeah, him and Niang are battling for the swing tackle. I mean, Wanya hopefully doesn't have to play left tackle this year.
And Jeff Schwartz. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was really what I was saying is hopefully Wanya doesn't play left tackle this year.
And Jeff Schwartz had a great tweet, I think, about how fast Driscoll was going down the field in one of those screen plays.
On that Prince run.
Prince run. It wasn't even a screen.
Prince run when he went down the field and he got a couple of guys. He got a guy at the line of scrimmage and then made it down the field to get the other guy. Yeah. That was nice. Yeah. Let's go with your number 2 then, since your number 3 was taken.
I'm going to go Norzad for your C.J. Hansen help reason because I feel like he's ahead of C.J. Hansen, and the only thing he can do tonight is maybe fall behind C.J. Hansen.
Yep, I could see that. Bad snaps and just struggling bad
getting pushed back into the quarterback's lap.
Yeah, week 1, preseason game number 1, the first drive was probably a tape that Norzad would like to burn.
Yes.
Of him getting just walked back and really thrown on his ass a couple times. But it happens.
Right.
It does.
And everyone's welcome to the NFL
I haven't seen that since then.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that since then, so, good for him.
Some people's welcome to the NFL moment happens in practice, and no one ever sees it. And then some people just have to have it, on the game day. So
right.
Worthy had one. And in the
practice,
training camp. I mean,
in training camp.
Yeah, I mean, like
the viral.
That's right.
Pinball.
He'll
video.
never be able to get off the line of scrimmage ever.
Yep.
Ever.
As he's running down catching touchdowns, but
right, because was it Williams that bodied him?
Yeah,
Joshua Williams
and
bodied
then
him.
Tranquil.
Then Tranquil
played pinball.
He finished him. Williams bodied him, and Tranquil finished him.
Finish him.
That's exactly right. Fatality. Who's your second, Sterling?
Curtis Jacobs.
Oh yeah.
I'm team 6 linebackers as of now. I've waffled a little bit here. I think Cam Jones is number 5. I think Curtis Jacobs would be number 6. So I have 6 linebackers, which is some people might have him in the most to help because if they only have 5, if he balls out, I can see it. Again, I think special teams is more important than I think the majority of folks realize. I think with the new kickoff rule, a little bit of changing, I think you might have more linebackers and secondary members. So I'm going Curtis Jacobs. I think he's like number 52 or 53, but if he looks bad, I think he's done.
Yeah, I had him an honorable mention in help.
It's
sort of like how you want to.
It's all you have your roster constructed.
Yeah. My number 2 in hurting his cause tonight is Deneric Prince.
That's a good one
because I think Carson Steele has moved above Deneric Prince, and we know if they feel like everything's good with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's on the team. So then, is Deneric Prince the 4th guy, or do they feel like they haven't seen enough from him? So do they find somebody else? We talked with Ken Swanson about Jerick McKinnon, and we both agreed that I don't think McKinnon has much left. But does McKinnon have enough left to be your 4th running back? Would he be okay with taking the job as the 4th running back? You get a veteran, and so your 4 guys are Pacheco, Steele, Edwards-Helaire, McKinnon, as opposed to Pacheco, Steele, Edwards-Helaire, and Prince if they don't feel like they're getting enough from Deneric Prince.
Sure.
So I think they're keeping 4, and I think Prince is on the squad right now. But if he goes and plays terribly, fumbles the ball, doesn't have the vision, doesn't pick up a blitz, then, okay, can we trust him in a game if he's not doing this in the preseason? I think he can hurt his cause tonight because I think he's on the squad. I think Deneric Prince is on the team, so I think a bad outing could change a mind here or there. With a grain of salt, knowing that most of these decisions are already made regardless of what happens tonight. But I think they threw everything at Carson Steele on Saturday. I think the Chiefs put Carson Steele into tons of different situations to see how he handled it. And that guy aced the test on Saturday. They had him go and run an arrow route. They had him chipping. They had him stay in. They had him pick up a blitz. They had him, take the handoff. Too. They had him take catch a ball out of the backfield. They had him kick returning. They had him on kick coverage. Everything. Carson Steele, go and do it. And he looked good out there.
Yeah.
So I think he's on the team. And so Deneric Prince, what does he do? I think he's on the team. But if he goes out there and if they throw everything at Prince to see, all right, let's see what he can do, and he doesn't pass the test, do they start to look for a fourth running back if they feel good with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? So he was my number 2. Number 1, chance to hurt their cause tonight, Dylan?
So I just picked the one because every time he has touched the field ever since last year's Patriots game, it seems that he hurts his cause all the time. So I'm going to go Kadarius Toney as number 1. It seems like just
if he plays, he hurts his cause.
The minus 110 favorite to do it. So I will take Kadarius Toney number 1.
Even if the cause may already be that he's off the team, it's like, well, it's just now he's going to hurt his cause for somebody else wanting him.
Yeah, it's funny how I had the rules of like, well, he can't hurt himself anymore, and then I put Toney number 1 here. But I do think he can somehow find a way.
What's your number 1, Sterling?
Matt Dickerson.
Oh, wow.
I think Matt Dickerson is on the team. I really do.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not. It just feels like he's one of those guys that the Chiefs just really, really like.
They like him.
But if he struggles really mightily, because he's going to get a lot of playing time tonight, I don't know. He would have to play really bad to get off this team, but I think that's why I have him number 1. Like, if he plays really, really bad.
With our lack of depth at that position, then, he would have to, line up backwards every play.
Well, I don't know about
I like that.
That's good. But, I mean, again, there's, 5 already defensive tackles maybe ahead of him.
Yep.
It's and again, it all depends on Chris Jones kicking out a lot and all that stuff. But if he struggles and you see some veterans getting cut and released, do they pick up a veteran instead of Matt Dickerson? Again, he would play really bad, but I think there's a possibility that he might miss the roster. So that's why I have him there.
So my number 1, even as I started to think and looking at the way that we were sort of categorizing things, it's the first guy that popped into my head. So I stayed with him. Even as all of the other 5 guys I have in honorable mentions are all about making the squad. This guy's on the squad, but when I thought about hurting their cause, I just thought about just team overall and just maybe in general, maybe perception. But FAU was the first one that popped into my head of, if you go out there and look generic again tonight, like he did on Saturday.
Prince.
Yes. If you go out there and look generic off-brand defensive end tonight, like he did on Saturday against a bunch of backups, because you're playing a bunch of backups again, there's a real worry. There's a real concern as to how much do you start to, as the weeks go by, lower what you think the ceiling is for FAU on this team. And we talked about what it means for Felix to perform and to be a productive player, not just of what he can do on the field, but Karlaftis is coming up for a contract. And you start to feel like you've got no choice but to sign Karlaftis. Yeah. So then are you overpaying for Karlaftis in production you're getting as a defensive end because you're not getting it, nearly enough from FAU, who was also a first-round draft pick taken right around that time? Instead of, if FAU is performing, maybe you look and say, Karlaftis will let you walk, and we're going to go and find somebody else to play that spot because we've exchanged that with FAU. They exchanged Snead with McDuffie. And doesn't look like they're going to be able to exchange.
Thornhill with Brian Cook.
Yeah, right. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to exchange Karlaftis with FAU. Different players, I get it. And he's still young, but I just want to see him go out there and flash like a series or 2 series and not just one play and then sort of disappear and then one play, because I do kind of think that some of the highlights that we've been seeing from people going, oh, look, FAU, nice play, was like, if he wasn't FAU, you wouldn't have pointed it out. If he wasn't a first-round draft pick FAU, you would have just said, a regular rep from a defensive end that's a backup on a team.
And if we go back to the Super Bowl, was that tackle in the backfield on the running play against the same guard that missed Chris Jones on the game-winning play?
I mean, but even if that's a backup, he's not doing that against backups right now. You know,
You're right? Yeah.
So, but I mean, and that's the part that you get sort of excited. It's like, okay, well, at the beginning of the season last year, he showed some things, and then he's got a tackle for loss in the Super Bowl. But then he spends all off season. You know, he's got great hands, and he works with Tamba. You know, Seth Kaiser writing about like his get off is faster than it was last year, which was a big issue. Only he's better at that aspect, but he's not then translating that into getting sacks or getting around the edge. Like he's getting off the ball quicker, but it's not turning into being disruptive. But you know that there's some things there to work with. I worry, because that's what I do in life. I worry about if FAU just becomes sort of a okay player.
Does it keep you up at night?
It doesn't. But I also wonder if FAU's the draft pick if it's not in Kansas City. And if it's not in Kansas City, is there a trade for the Chiefs that they can maybe trade back that Clark Hunt was like,
you
no,
know
that's
what I'll
not
tell you
happening.
right now, Jason?
What are you telling me?
It's a sunk cost.
Well, yeah, it is, for sure.
It does not matter
For
anymore.
sure. No, it doesn't. It's just a matter of, you know, him going in and performing to a level that they aren't in the business 2 years from now saying we have to now spend a first-rounder on a defensive end. He's young. He's willing to put in the work. We know that.
Yeah.
So hopefully it starts to progress, and they don't need him as bad this year. But with Amenahu, after his contract's up after this year, and, you know, Herring, you know, moving, but like Karlaftis, like how much you're spending on him, like the rent's going to come due for FAU, maybe, you know, literally in money for contract, but also in like what he does for the team in trying to make sure that you have depth in different places. And the defensive end spot is one of the shallowest areas of this team this year until week 6, or excuse me, I say week 6. I don't know why I keep saying week 6. Until week 4 or 5, I guess it'd be week 5 when Amenahu comes off the
it's going to take him a minute.
The pup list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and he, even when he gets back, it's like, you know, how quickly he gets integrated and everything. But yeah, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it would be against the Saints would be the first game that he could play, Amenahu, and then the off week, and then the 49ers. Heck, they may just say, we'll see you week 7 against the 49ers after the bye week. Amenahu.
That's what I would do.
Who knows? That's it. We all got all 3 of our hurts and helps.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling along. Also, by the way, as a quick aside, FAU is my number 1. I also put, like, in a parentheses, Cam Jones there, sort of like the Curtis Jacobs. Like,
Yeah,
if I'm
kinda,
looking at,
yeah.
like, the making the team, not making the team.
Sure.
Cam Jones is on the team, so I think the only thing he can do is hurt his cause tonight.
Sure.
But, yeah, so we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk a little bit about Joey Votto and Sauce Gardner had one of the greatest answers when asked about an opposing quarterback, telling you everything you needed to know without actually telling you anything. We'll explain next. Chiefs at 6 o'clock, and post-game with Jack Johnson after the game is over. I will be hanging out today from 4 to 6 at Mod Pizza in Lenexa, and they have the buy one, get one. Mod Pizza getting you ready for the final Chiefs preseason game. Mod Pizza doing the buy one, get one pizza for free as long as you mention Sports Radio 810 and you get your Mod Pizza buy one, get one. So stop in today. We'll be there from 4 to 6. Mod Pizza Lenexa on your way home. Get the buy one, get one pizzas for the final preseason game. The unlimited toppings, one price at Mod Pizza. Predictably fast. The create your own. It's Mod Pizza will be there 4 to 6 today. And getting you ready with the buy one, get one.
A
pizzas.
BOGO.
That's right, a
if you
BOGO.
will.
It's a BOGO if you will. All right, so the Giants and Jets had a joint practice. Sauce Gardner at the podium. This was yesterday. I think the joint practice might have been on Tuesday, but anyway. But Sauce Gardner, the question is in here. So this is just his attempt to let you know Daniel Jones is a quarterback without actually letting you know.
What was your opinion or takeaway on Daniel Jones?
He's a good quarterback. You feel me? I thought I was about to pick him off today. I had a little cloud rep. You know, he had looked at the last minute to try to throw the check down to Wandale. You know, I thought I had to pick, but he kept it. I mean, the competitive periods, it was very competitive, man. It was great. Like, I had fun out there today, you know. I don't really know what to say. Like,
Sauce Gardner telling you what he thinks of Daniel Jones without actually having to tell you anything.
Courage of his conviction there.
Yeah.
I counted 11-second pause.
At least.
11-second pause that he had when he was saying, you know, almost picked him up, and then paused to think about what to say and kept going like, shh. Man, I counted the shh and man as the pause because he was sort of thinking of what to say before he got into the, you know, the competitive periods were competitive. Yes, that's good. And about Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say.
Yeah.
My mom taught me if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. That's the Sauce Gardner way of talking about Daniel Jones.
He started off very Andy Reid. You know, he's a good quarterback.
But he didn't even believe. Can you play the beginning? He didn't even believe himself. He started saying it, and he started questioning himself if he's a good quarterback while he was saying he's a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback. Try it again.
I thought I was about to pick him off today.
Try
I
it
had
again.
to look.
Start at the beginning.
He's a good quarterback.
You don't believe that. You don't believe that.
He's
a good quarterback.
He's doing better than the Bengals players did yesterday. Did anyone see those tweets?
No.
Oh man, hang on. I'll read one of them.
About whom?
The Colts and Anthony Richardson. So
really?
hang on one second.
Oh, yes,
Well,
I did
it's
see
weird.
that one.
It's weird because the Bengals don't typically talk. So they were breaking the norm of them. Hey, Les Norman. They were
Crazy.
going outside of their comfort zone to talk.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it myself. That's why I
It's crazy. Yeah.
made sure to
Was it
save
Eli
it.
Apple? Is he still talking from wherever, whatever roster he's trying to make right now?
No, it was Geno Stone and B.J. Hill.
So he was throwing
Oh,
stones.
actually, good players, too.
Hang on.
Geno Stone's good. Wild.
He's wildly good.
Okay, let me find Geno Stone's
No,
quote.
I mean, this is also his first year in Cincy, so the Ravens, he was quiet in Baltimore. Obviously, he gets to Cincinnati, and they're like, no, we want you to talk smack here. We're team talk smack.
So, Bengals players didn't hold back on Anthony Richardson during the Colts and Bengals joint practice today. Cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt, that's all he do is run. Defensive tackle B.J. Hill, throw the damn ball. Safety Geno Stone, he only throws to spots. He doesn't throw to his receivers. So these are all quotes. There's another
Is that
tweet.
during the
Yes.
So that was what was heard.
Overheard.
Overheard.
The smack talk. Then, gosh, I can't find the tweet. Basically, there's a tweet after the practice in the press conference of all the players basically saying, why are we even here? We're not even being challenged, was the quote basically at the end. And that's a real quote at the end that says, we aren't even being challenged out here, referring to the whole Colts team. So, yeah, joint practices can go, I feel like they only go bad. I mean, there's a couple great highlights, but there's more fights and then this, and you're just showing people your drills and plays and how you run your operation.
I'm good with them. You know, not
just
not
have
doing
an
that.
extremely hard training camp.
I will say now after it was over, right, and emotions have sort of calmed down or whatever. But I will say in the heat of it, because we also heard, God, who was it? The 49er safety that said he regular. He's a regular quarterback. He's regular.
Deshaun Gibson.
Yeah. We know Mahomes.
A lot of fiber.
We know Mahomes.
A lot of fiber.
Yeah, we know Mahomes isn't regular. Well, I mean, on the field. We know he's not just a regular quarterback, right? But in that moment, he was like, he hasn't done anything against us. This guy's just regular. This guy's a regular quarterback. Okay, cool. Well, we'll see how that works out for you, because he's not a regular quarterback, because when the man needs points, he gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it, which is what separates him from everybody else that has entered the league, that has talent and can play quarterback and can make all the throws, and Caleb Williams has these special plays. Great, okay. Down 3 in the Super Bowl, end of regulation, field goal or you lose, go score. Overtime, field goal or you lose, go score. And that man did it twice, and he's done it time and time. Second half against the Eagles, score every possession or you lose. And they did. Score every single possession and you lose. Find a way to get your team into field goal range at the end of the Bengals game for the AFC Championship. And they did with Mahomes. So, like, those are separators, right? He might be regular at times during a game. You may think he's regular during the first quarter or a couple of series in a row. But
the 49er safety, right?
Yeah.
Because Jimmy G and Brock Purdy, what are those guys?
Well, Jimmy G was regular. Brock Purdy may be. We'll see. Maybe a little bit better.
I found the tweet, by the way. It was from Nate Atkins from the Indy Star. So a beat writer for the Colts tweeted, "This might be the worst Colts offensive practice of training camp so far. Bengals defenders are chirping," which is where those quotes came from, "and honestly seem annoyed to not be challenged better."
Amazing.
That last sentence is very, cutting. As a professional athlete, if another team is coming in and saying, "Yeah, we're not really getting challenged here," that's not great.
Let's play one more clip before we take a timeout and talk a little bit about Joey Votto. This from a man on the street. This is with the Raiders. A man on the street. The Mick Schaefer. You got to go out, and this was at a mall food court, and they find a kid wearing a bunch of Raiders gear. Is in Vegas, and so hey, let's talk about what you think about the Raiders this year. So here's that conversation with man on the street, TV reporter, and what looks to be a 12-year-old kid.
You know your Raiders, I can tell right here. How are you feeling with the team this year?
We're not going to the Super Bowl. I already know it.
We got a realistic Raiders fan here. This is odd. This is the first interview I've ever had like this. The Super Bowl chances are not good, but what is it going to take for the Raiders to have a successful season, you think?
Not to get arrested.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jackson.
It's a great kid right there.
What's a successful season for the Raiders?
Not to get arrested.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a realistic Raiders fan. That's a guy that, set expectations that are somewhat attainable.
Yeah.
Not to get arrested.
What's harder, do you think, for the Raiders, to win a Super Bowl or to not get arrested?
Not to get arrested.
Probably.
I mean, the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and they've been doing this victory lap. Not literally like John Gruden, but they've been doing this victory lap since then. And then you got this kid in Las Vegas who's a Raiders fan saying, "All right, guys, let's keep it real. This is what we need to do this year.
Not to get arrested."
You guys do that, I feel like we're heading in the right direction. Antonio Pierce, you get me a season of no arrests, then we can talk about winning the division.
The goal of every single bachelor party?
Not to get arrested.
That's exactly right. You go to a Chiefs game, you're X factor, you want to leave the stadium.
Not to get arrested.
It's what you would like to do. You know, you're traveling around to see different games, super fan. You know, you got a way to supplement your income to be able to pay for those tickets, and you've got like one goal in mind so you can keep going to these games.
Not to get arrested.
That's right, and it didn't work out.
Scotty Scheffler now at every single golf tournament.
Not to get arrested.
How do I I got one goal to where I can get to my tee time. What's that goal? What is it?
Not to get arrested.
Okay, there we go. I want to play a couple clips from Joey Votto, too, but had a little bit too much fun with the Raiders kid and not wanting his team to get arrested. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. Joey Votto retiring, officially retiring yesterday. We got Sports or Leisure at 1 o'clock. More Zone next. All right, so we talked about the Mariners imploding. I still want to play some of these Joey Votto clips, and we will. We got an hour left. We got some sports or leisure coming up in the next hour presented by Johnny's Tavern. We talked about the Mariners imploding, right? And then, sort of very quickly, sort of like, the manager fired. We'll see. The Mariners are firing Scott Service today.
In the playoff hunt.
Naming Dan Wilson their manager. 2008, the Brewers fired Ned Yost with 2 weeks to go in the season. They ended up making the wild card with the interim, losing in the divisional round that year. And Ned Yost went on to win a World Series for another team. So what I'm saying is Scott Service, Royals World Series manager. Sorry, Q.
to sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
913-381-810-810 is the phone number to play some sports or leisure. 913-381-810. $25 to Johnny's Tavern we are playing for. If you get a sports question and a leisure question right, you win. Either of them wrong, you lose. Question out there available to call in and request if you know it. We give out the answer when it has been answered correctly, or we have simply run out of time to play. Again, 913-381-810 is the phone number to play some sports or leisure. So, the categories for sports, we have a few Chiefs training camp darling questions left. Then we have a category that's Royals/Major League Baseball. There are some Royals-specific questions about players in Royals history or current Royals players, etc. Just questions around the Royals right now. Then there are also some Major League Baseball questions that may be a jumping-off point for somebody in the Royals that has done something, or the fact that Joey Votto has officially retired and he was an on-base machine. As we get the phone lines lined up to play some sports or leisure, 913-381-810-810. Joey Votto retiring, he was one of my favorite players to watch. You okay? You all right?
No. I don't know what's happened to me.
You okay?
Maybe. I just, all of a sudden.
It was projectile coughing.
Projectile coughing.
Yeah, you had to immediately fall over and
Dog, what has happened to me, Jason?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is this getting old?
I'm not sure. But Joey Votto retiring officially. He was one of the more enjoyable players to watch in how he sort of went about his business, how he interacted with fans, sometimes being the curmudgeon, the antagonist to fans on the road, sometimes being the protagonist, just sort of being a different character, which was great. But also, he sometimes embraced being funnier as well. We played this one earlier in the year. This is he was at a supermarket when he wanted to get signed, and he was still a free agent, ended up signing with the Blue Jays, but he was still a free agent, and he gave out a warning to the rest of Major League Baseball that there are consequences to not signing him, and those would be dire in grocery store parking lots.
If someone doesn't sign me, I'm not going to put my shopping carts away.
Carts are a lot like golf balls. You just want to get close to the hole.
Nice. He did not get it in the shopping cart container. He's not going to put away his shopping carts until he gets signed. He also... on an interview with, let's do the Jim Day one. We'll do the Mad Dog one here in a second. But the Jim Day interview, Jim Day, the Joel Goldberg of the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
So here's that interaction between the Joel Goldberg of the Reds and Joey Votto.
Were you more excited about the go-ahead run, the fact that you did score from first, or that he called it, or all the above?
You did. What is that? Is that a shot?
That was a semi-shot. That was just not the most fleet of foot, but it was the fastest sprint speed you had going home.
It's not getting any better either.
Say that again.
It was the fastest sprint speed of you going home.
Oh, really? What was my speed?
I don't know the exact number. I would have to look it up.
All right. Text it to me if you don't mind. And then you're about to find out you've been blocked. So too bad, buddy. I'll replace you with a Jim that starts with a G.
Text me so you can find out you've been blocked.
Blocked, buddy.
Yes. And then he was on Mad Dog High Heat, Mad Dog Radio, MLB Network. This was before a game, and Joey Votto was being interviewed by Mad Dog about awards and some veteran guys.
A couple of months ago, you said that Zach Greinke and I are a hall of very good ball players. I think Zach and I would agree. You may be right. But I get the gist of what's going on here. I know what you're doing. You're looking down on us. A couple small market Midwest ball players just because we're not big city, just like you. Mr. New York City, Sirius XM radio star. Mr. National Television, ESPN star, with your Fifth Avenue ties and your crisp pocket squares, your tailored suits and your polished shoes, and your hair, your perfectly coiffed Broadway hair. Must be nice to sit atop that Madison Avenue ivory tower looking down on us with those luscious locks. Not everyone can be the next Roger Peckinpah, Mad Dog. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a disgrace.
Oh, he was pretty good. Roger Peckinpah.
Also, Greinke's for sure in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, played Major League Baseball from 1910 to 1927, if you were wondering. Keeping score at home, Roger Peckinpah. But that was on High Heat with Chris Mad Dog, your perfectly coiffed hair, your tailored suits, and your
luscious
locks, and your crisp pocket square. But no, he was great, and the interactions with fans were awesome. When he was mic'd up, it was cool. There was the fun game in L.A. when they threw a paper airplane down on the field, and he was at first base, and I think it was Adrian Gonzalez was at first base, and he was holding him on, and the paper airplane flew down, and he looked around in the crowd, and he walked over, and he stomped on it, and then rolled it up, and then threw it away, and then he went and covered first, and then Adrian Gonzalez is looking at the crowd and started doing thumbs down to Votto, and they started booing him. But then there's also the really cool Joey Votto in that one of the great stories. So he was coming up to bat at home in Cincinnati, and there was a kid that was sitting in the front row who was battling cancer, and he would have a conversation with him on deck. And Votto hits a home run, right? Rounds the bases, walks over to him, and he's the first person that he gives, a high five to and gives knuckles, gave the kid a bat, signed bat. Kid passed away 2 months later. He took care of the family. He went to the wake. The family knew that, like, hey, you got some things to do, so, let's take you up to the front of the line. And he was like, no, I'm not cutting other people that are showing the respects. I'm waiting in line like everybody else to pay my respects to this kid. Like, everybody around him said he's one of the best dudes in baseball. And the fun that he had, even when he was sort of razzing opposing fans, was just sort of that, having fun at a Major League Baseball stadium. So Joey Votto, also a phenomenal baseball player in the fact that he was 7 times on-base percentage leader in his career. And he was before his time. And one of the things that I think Marty Brennaman will regret in his time as voice of the Reds was constantly criticizing and clowning and dogging Joey Votto for getting on base. He would, on the air during the radio broadcasts, Marty Brennaman, talk about how awful Joey Votto's contract is, that they're paying this guy $20 million a year to walk to first base. I mean, he would do it all the time. And Joey Votto, yet again, guy's on base and he walks to first base. So Joey Votto handing it to somebody else to do his job. Like, Marty would clown him.
That guy's just
all
dumb.
The time.
He
Yes.
just does not know
Right,
ball.
right. And it's like,
does not know
it's
ball.
One of the things, like, Marty is one of the greatest that's ever lived at doing it at radio, baseball, play-by-play. It's one of the things that I think he would probably regret the most, of not sort of getting it. Well, his son's actually. Marty, not his son. But that's, because that's your best player, an MVP, 7-time on-base percentage. And by the way, if Joey Votto, I saw the stat yesterday, and then we'll get to the game. If Joey Votto went 0 for his next 477, he would still have an on-base percentage higher than Tony Gwynn.
Yeah,
he would have to go 0 for his next 477. He was awesome, but it was the interactions. It was how fun he was to watch him play the game as well. So he officially retired yesterday. Tried to finish his career in Toronto, playing in his hometown. In front of his family, but just never was able to get the ankle right and to get up to the big leagues, and decided I'm not good enough, so I'm not going to try anymore. All right, 913-381-0810. Categories, set. Callers, set. Sterling, you set?
Set.
Dylan.
Set.
Yellow. White. That's Patrick Mahomes instead of down said. He likes to call it the colors. Yellow.
White 80.
Avery, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. By next up, I mean first up here to play a little sports or leisure. $25 to Johnny's Tavern, the best sports bar in the Kansas City area, 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. Avery, what side would you like to start with first?
Well, what are the leisure categories?
Yeah, Jason didn't ask me. That's okay,
I thought
though.
you did the categories after I did the Royals and Chiefs.
You just kind of went straight into Joey
You went
Votto.
to a Votto thing for like 20 minutes. It was kind of crazy.
Let's hear the other Votto clip that we have while Avery's
thanks,
on
Avery.
hold. We're going to put
Appreciate
Avery
you,
back
Avery.
on hold, and then we'll play these other 5 Votto clips that we have that we decided it would be okay if they were on the cutting room floor. Let's go ahead and sneak them in now.
We have walk-in music, which is name the walk-in song for said player. We have.
Oh, I thought you meant like Christopher Walken singing.
We have potpourri, otherwise known as potpourri. And then we have Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric.
All right, I'll do Royals.
Okay, great.
Wow, Avery, all that work, huh?
Well, he needed to know for when he got the Royals question, right? Which I'm assuming will probably happen. We got him last week, but we'll see. All right, let's see. Royals question. Toughest question. This is the toughest question. Oh, darn it. I don't think we have all that tough. Not for you. All right, let's go with this one then. Cole Reagans is 6 strikeouts away from breaking the Royals record for strikeouts in a season by a left-hander. Who owns the record? Most Ks in a single season for a lefty. Cole Reagan will do it in his next outing. Assuming.
What's he at right now?
I don't know the number. I know he's 6 away, but let me look. I just looked at the number of him being 6 away. I got this from the Royals game notes. I don't know what you're doing there.
I'm giving you letters. I'm trying to spell them out for you.
Sorry.
I don't have a pen to write
sorry,
for you.
I didn't know what you were doing there.
I was doing some hand motions to Jason, and because I don't get to know the answer beforehand, too. So
I don't give him. He doesn't.
I
give
like
me
to
the
guess
questions.
as
I don't
well.
give him the questions either. So yeah, not gonna do it. All right, Cole Reagans. While you think of that, I'm gonna look up the number of Ks he has this year. He's got 183, so 189 is the record.
189 or 188?
188 or 189.
I'm correct.
Either one.
I'm correct, by the way.
Either one.
So Avery, I got it.
Duffy?
What was it?
Danny Duffy?
Yeah, it was Danny Duffy. So, I mean, that was as tough as a question as some of the others that were out there. So, all good.
I thought you were going to ask about 7 RBI games.
No, next week I will.
Dairon Blanco.
On to leisure with Sterling.
Let's potpourri it.
Let's potpourri it. What do you call a group of crows?
Oh,
murder.
That's a murder.
That's a murder.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask
You
him
know
a tough
what Ravens
question.
is?
What was the question?
You know what ravens are?
A group of ravens? Losers?
Losers.
An unkindness.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know your birds.
I know, collective nouns.
I like it.
Avery knows everything. Everything known by playing this game. He knows
everything.
There you go. Well done.
Avery will put you on hold. Get your information. Well, yeah, we'll just put you on hold. You could talk to Dylan. Thanks,
All right.
sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I once you said the crows, I knew he was going to get that one. I wanted you to ask him the toughest question you could possibly think of.
We have a lot of tough questions on here.
Who was your best friend in 3rd grade? That's the
I
question.
don't even know.
Sterling, that's the question you should have asked him.
Yeah.
He would have never got it right. He could have said anybody, and you would have just changed the answer.
Yeah, I could have.
It's an immediate wrong answer, no matter what.
You're smart.
Wasn't it Jeffrey Stevens? No, dummy.
Stevie Jeffrins.
Stevie Jeffrins, man. Yeah. Everybody knows that. Hated Jeffrey.
Cool thing about imaginary friends is you can rename them every week.
Exactly.
So.
Thank you. Yeah. That's right. Brian, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brian, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Again, the topics.
Yeah, no problem. On the sports side, we've got some Royals questions, and we've got Major League Baseball. We have Chiefs training camp darlings still. And then on the leisure side,
we have walk-in music, we have potpourri, and we have Finish the Lyric.
Can I go with Chiefs training camp darlings for 500, Alex?
Absolutely. Okay, the 500 one. Okay, great.
No, actually, give me the 100 or that.
How about this? I'll give you the 100 of the ones that are remaining.
Okay.
So there we go. So this was an odd camp darling because he's not the traditional undrafted mascot that the fans typically latch onto. In fact, this guy was expected to be great. He was a first-round wide receiver and looked like he was going to be one of the best in the league in his first preseason and training camp. He played only 2 years with the Chiefs before they cut bait and traded him for another first-round wide receiver bust.
Is that Jonathan Baldwin?
It was Jonathan Baldwin. Not the traditional camp darling, but he was going to be this guy is just playing as well as any receiver we've ever seen. Oh, my God.
One of the greatest
so
non-catches of all time. The one around the back of the defender that I called back for, like, false start or
Baldwin's
holding.
going to be special, man. This guy's going to be really good. He wasn't. So that happens. But you get that one right. So well done. Over to Leisure.
We have walk-in music, potpourri, and finish the lyric.
How about finish the lyrics?
All right. I'll give you 3 choices. I'll let you pick the band. Song by Creed, song by Alice Cooper, and a song by Rush.
Rush.
All right, we'll go Rush. What you say about his company is what you say about society. Catch the mist, catch the myth, catch the mystery, catch the...
Spit.
It's drift. What did he say?
I thought you said catch the spit. I've listened to that song for 30 years. I'm like, really?
Oh, this is
We're
amazing.
going to have to look it up.
This is one
he
of those
was
great,
so confident,
by
too.
the way, this is one of those great
if
things.
I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
No,
guys,
but this is one of those great things to where you hear a lyric and you just sing it that way the rest of your life.
Yeah, I could, yeah.
Because I've done that with a couple of songs.
Yeah, well, it's also hard because Geddy Lee is really high vocally.
Sterling's right.
Yeah.
Catch the drift.
There is spit
Sorry,
later
guys.
on in the song, though. I don't know.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Because they do have what you say about his company is what you say about society. Catch the witness, catch the wit, catch the spirit, catch the spit. So, in fairness to him, the secondary part of that verse does say that, even if it's a slightly different variation later on.
That's a good tricky one. I like it.
I feel like I need to count it for him. I feel like we count it.
No. I apologize.
Wow, Dylan.
I apologize there,
Dylan.
sir. It's
wow.
That's the whole point. It's tricky.
It's supposed to be tricky, and
You can give me another one. Give me
Let's do that.
another Rush song.
Let's try that.
well, I can't give you another Rush song. That's gonna be too hard now.
Alex,
If you choose not to decide.
you still haven't made a choice.
Done. There we go.
Okay.
Got it right. Nice job. Brian, we will put you on hold and get your
true, though.
information. Congratulations.
Hey, love
well
you
done.
guys.
Absolutely. Right back at you. That is true, though, right?
You
Even
still
if you
have
choose-
made a
You still
choice.
have made a choice.
I choose free will.
Didn't mean for the emphatic nah.
Yeah,
Dude,
Dylan,
that was great.
that was the angriest I've heard Dylan. No, no,
channeling Mick there a little bit.
No,
you know,
he's not a winner.
Everyone wins.
but I can understand.
I hate Brian. This guy's not a winner.
I can understand the
I
confusion.
want winners.
I'll have to answer for that here when I pick up the phone here and talk to Brian. But
Hat in hand, answering the phone.
I doff my cap, good sir.
I was trying to keep it intact there. You had a really good tricky question.
It was a good tricky question, and it was hard, and I like winners. Okay, I like to be a team player on this show.
All right, let's go to while Dylan talks with Brian. Let's go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Well, I hope I can live up to these past two, guys. Let's go sports and a Royals question.
All right, sports Royals for you. Bobby Witt. He is hitting .352 this year, which is the second highest batting average in Royals history for a single season. There are 3 players who are in the top 10, or excuse me, top 5. 3 players in the top 5 of batting average in a single season in Royals history. So only 3 players make up the top 5. Bobby Witt's number 2. Who are the other 2 players?
Well, one's a free space.
Well, yeah, of course. There's typically a free space. What Bobby's doing right now, there's typically a free space with him.
So George Brett.
George Brett is 1st, 4th, and 5th.
And then Mike Sweeney.
Mike Sweeney is 3rd and 5th. Nice job. Well done. Nice job. Bobby Witt, right now, he is 12 points higher than Sweendog to finish with the second highest batting average for a season in Royals history. He's only 38 points away from Brett. So, I mean, it's right there.
I also misunderstood because I thought at first you're saying top 5 in a season for a team. So you know what I'm saying? Like
No,
like,
just I see what you're saying.
yeah.
No. For Royals specifically,
I was like, did Melky Cabrera do it in like 2009 when he hit like 305? Like was that top
Yeah.
5 in the AL?
No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, but no, just for the Royals. So it's Brett first, Bobby Witt second, Mike Sweeney third, Brett fourth, Mike Sweeney and Brett tied for fifth.
Nice.
Over to Leisure with Sterling.
We have Finish the Lyric, we have Potpourri, and we have Walk-In Music, which is closers' walk-in songs.
Not music that Christopher Walken is singing. It's not that.
Wow, those are tough. There's no like John Hughes movies category. There's nothing like that.
Shockingly,
There's
no
specific-
John Hughes
No.
movies. I know.
Great, let's come up with that category right now.
I guess I'll go with Potpourri. I'm not confident with any of those categories. But
All right. Okay. You'll get Potpourri. I think you'll get this one. Who was credited with the invention of the telephone?
Alexander Graham Bell.
There you go. You nailed it.
Well
See?
done, see?
Wow.
Potpourri, not as hard as you think.
Nice job. I figured you would ask him the potpourri question of name every member of the Brat Pack. But we didn't have any John Hughes
We didn't have any
questions,
John Hughes
so that would make
questions,
sense. John, are you John Hughes? Wait a minute.
Are you John
is this
Hughes?
Mr. Hughes?
No, unfortunately. Well, if I were, I'd be not alive. But
Yeah, I think fortunately you're not.
yeah.
Mark that, Dylan. That's great. John, we will put you on hold. Congratulations to not being John Hughes. Well done. And winning.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
He was upset at himself for joining cuts this week, but
That's fine. It's
great.
No, it's a part of the group now.
You could have
That's
heard it
great.
at the end. It's like, oh,
How many callers would love to be a part of Cuts?
He's part of Cuts.
that's a good one. That's not like
Yeah. No, that's a perfectly fine one. I forgot that he had passed away, but that was,
I didn't know that either.
I'm looking it up now.
09.
August of 09, yeah. Okay, there you go. There you go.
See, but he nailed Potpourri. Good for him.
Absolutely. Let's go to, you should come up with John Hughes questions now, just in honor of John.
Maybe
Not
next year.
Hughes, but
Maybe
that
next
John
week.
caller. Let's go to Sean next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sean, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do Chiefs training, darling.
All right, Chiefs training camp darling / stars. The last two are a little tougher. I'm just going to let you know.
All right, let me switch categories.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I wouldn't. The reason that we had like 12 and these are the last two remaining. Those two,
There's a reason to the last two.
there's a
Yeah,
reason the last two. I mean, it would be one of those to where you'd have to really know them. But there's Royals / Major League Baseball. So there's Major League Baseball questions that are jumping off points from Royals, but there are also a couple specific Royals questions remaining.
All right, let's just go Royals then.
All right, just go Royals for you. Bobby Witt has an on-base percentage this year of .402. Can you name any of the top three in Royals history for on-base percentage in a career? They had to play at least 3 years playing for the Royals to have the best on-base percentage with their time with the Royals. So if you played 4 years, it was your on-base percentage you had with the Royals, not your on-base percentage over 20 years. So any of the players in the top three, which obviously means there is not a free space on this one.
Oh, so you're saying they had to play for another team as well?
They didn't have to. They could have played. It's just like in their time. Like George Brett is not in the top three. He's there, but he's not top three.
Okay, that was my question then.
Yeah,
Okay.
but George Brett played every game of his career. Like,
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
These players all did. The top three did play for different teams, but this is just what they did with the Royals.
Just Kansas
So you had
City.
to play at least 3 years. You couldn't come in for one. Jeff King couldn't have shown up, with his 80 games. And
Shockingly,
been
the
like,
final year of Harmon Killebrew didn't count.
Yeah,
he was
right.
also really bad.
Yeah,
but
so
I get the point now.
Any
Yes.
of the top three in on-base percentage for a career.
I got a couple guys I'm thinking about. Johnny Damon or Carlos Beltran. Maybe let's try Johnny Damon.
Johnny Damon is incorrect.
Good
Sean,
guess, though, Sean. That's
no
a good guess.
John Damon.
Does he get a second guess? Was that his first guess or his final guess?
I don't care. He can guess the other guy, too.
I'm going to lose anyway. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. 913-381-0810.
It's a good question. That's hard, though.
Well, his other guess was Carlos Beltran. That's
Yeah.
why I said he can guess that guy, too. It's wrong.
You can
so
guess the whole outfield. I don't think it's going to work.
No, all three of these guys were before that team.
Okay, because I said, yeah.
You said Dye.
I said Jermaine Dye.
He said Damon.
Yeah.
He also thought about Beltran. None of those guys are correct. Again, all three of these guys before that particular group of players. Let's go to Craig next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Craig, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
I'll do leisure.
All right, in leisure, we have potpourri walk-in music, which is closers' walk-in songs. And we have Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric.
All right, can I still just finish it with Drift?
No, Dylan.
Yeah, I heard the ding.
He did ding.
Dylan made a mistake. It was the wrong ding.
Oh.
He did not catch the
All right.
drift.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. Is that the category you want, though, Craig?
I guess so. Who were the others?
Alice Cooper or Creed?
I'll do Alice Cooper.
All right. Well, we got no class, and we got no principles, and we've got no intelligence. We can't even think of a...
Is this our intro?
Subject?
Dylan's talking to my ear back there. 1 second. Like, Dylan, that could not have been worse timing. Well, we got no class, and we got no principles, and we got no intelligence. We can't even think of a...
Subject?
It's actually 3 words here.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. 3 words.
Well, we got no class, and we got no principles, and we got no intelligence. We can't even think of a...
Answer to this question.
Think
Oh,
of
that
a
was
blank
four.
that...
That was 4.
Think of a blank that blanks.
God. And I thought I was an expert on this.
It's School's Out by Alice Cooper.
Yeah, school's out for summer.
Yeah. School's out forever, some say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know there's someone just screaming right now going, it's blank to blank.
It is both. Those aren't the lyrics. Okay. What do you say there,
Sing the song.
Craig?
You just got to start singing.
It's not. You guys got me here. I'm so
Start
sad.
singing it. You got it. You can do it. I believe in you.
Were those hints?
I don't
No,
think they were.
they were
No,
not.
he was just telling you to.
It's going to be really funny
Yeah.
when you don't get it, though, because
Is it?
well, not for him, but it's going to be even funnier because
School's out forever.
Is that the right answer? No, that's not the right answer. Craig, thank you for playing, man. As always, appreciate it. 913-381-0810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, keep playing some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. We're giving away getting a sports and a leisure question right. We continue more Zone right after this.
Of the best deals. And if you're not a customer at Greenlight already, then I'm telling you, you are missing out on the #1 rated dispensary in the state of Missouri and also the #1 rated loyalty program in the state of Missouri as well, because the cash you spend in store also racks up in your wallet as points to be used later on other products. And these points rack up fast. It feels like after I spend points on a product, I have more waiting for me the very next week. And at Greenlight Dispensary this month, they're doing the summer reload, and you can bundle and save with products as high as 50% off. And you can check out their new bundles at greenlightdispensary.com. And this week for the August reload, Greenlight's continuing to give away their silver and gold strain 8s for 2 for $40 and platinum 8s again for 2 for $50, but they're adding synth 8s as well for 2 for $50. So go online and take advantage of those deals today while they still last and use their...
Good news in the concerning injury front in the NFL, not Chiefs related. Penei Sewell left practice early yesterday, and there was a lot of concern with the Lions about how serious the foot injury was going to be. But MRI results all came back clean, and so it is just going to be an ankle injury that will not require surgery or anything, so they think he could be good to go week 1. But when he left, there was some real concern as to how bad that foot might be. So I hate injuries in NFL, no matter who it is. Good news there for Penei Sewell, one of the best left tackles in the game that will be still, looks like, healthy, not as bad as first thought yesterday when he left. Let's go to Shane playing some sports or leisure, 913-381-0810, winning $25 to Johnny's Tavern, getting a sports question, a leisure question right. Shane, what side do you want to start with, sports side or the leisure side?
Hi, Jason. The beer has gone bad. You're correct.
Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Somebody got the damn reference. Got glazed over eyes in here.
I want to start with sports. Yeah.
All right, we got some Royals questions. We got one that's out there about the on-base percentage for a season. We got another Royals question that's fresh, and then we got some MLB questions.
I'll take that one about the on-base.
Okay, so name any of the top 3 in Royals history for on-base percentage in a career, having played at least 3 years for the Royals.
I got a couple guesses, but I think one's got to be one of them for sure. So I'm going to guess Kevin Seitzer.
Kevin Seitzer, second all-time.
Yeah.
Kevin Seitzer, 380 on-base percentage, second all-time. You said you had a couple of guesses. Since you've already won, want to throw any of the other guesses out there to see if you're right.
Well, one of my favorites when he was playing and kind of got grief for it, but I love the way he approached his at-bats was David Jesus, so I thought he might be high.
Jesus was not on it. Number 1 all-time, played only 3 years with the Royals. That would be Jose Offerman with a 385 on-base percentage in his 3 years. Seitzer at 380. And then 5 years with the Royals, Danny Tartable, 376 on-base percentage.
Yeah.
Number 3. So 1, 2, 3, Offerman, Seitzer, and Tartable for career on-base percentage for the Royals. On to leisure with Sterling.
We have Finished the Lyric, which includes one already out there with Alice Cooper. We have Potpourri, and we have Walk-In Music, which is closers' walk-in songs.
I'd like to try that walk-in, but when I heard that Alice Cooper question, I knew it right when you said it, so I'm going to have to try. I have to go with that one.
All right, Alice Cooper. Well, we got no class. We've got no principles. We got no innocence. We can't even think of a
word that rhymes.
There you go. Can't even think of a word that rhymes, which makes it even funnier when someone doesn't get it because they can't even think of a word
I don't
that
even
rhymes.
know the lyric. I can't think of something that would rhyme with that, so that this would be the answer. It's a great call.
Every time I hear that on the radio, which is just the other day, I laugh at it.
Every time. Makes me laugh. It's a good call.
Shane, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there's another winner, 913-381-0810. Let's go to Andrew next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Andrew, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's try Potpourri.
All right, Potpourri. What is Scooby-Doo's real name?
Melvin Dew, isn't it?
No. That's pretty good, Melvin.
I love that it's Melvin.
No.
Melvin Dew.
I'll give him a real chance here. We'll give him a real
Give
chance.
him another
here.
chance.
Let's I even actually made this my learned on Monday.
he mentioned this
so
this
this
week.
is a fun one. It's a throwback to Monday.
Where did I hear that it was Melvin?
You're probably thinking of B.J. Upton, Boss Man Jr., Melvin. What is Scooby-Doo's real name? And you might not want to overthink it because
I don't even.
You would have got this, wouldn't you?
I would not have gotten it.
You would have got this, Jason.
I mean, it's easier because it's just like, oh, well, that's
kind of silly. It's kind of like,
you just added some letters to his name.
Yeah, take the Y off basically and add
other letters.
And we know the answer from earlier this week too.
Well, yeah, that's what. But yes, I know it. Right.
Right. Yeah,
before I heard it,
I even gave a hint on the show.
So I guess we know Andrew doesn't listen to the zone.
He just is here for the
or
money.
He didn't listen to specifically Sterling's Learned on Monday.
That's true.
He's just here for the money.
Can't blame him.
Just here so we don't get fined.
Yeah, that's true. Man.
Scooby-Doo's real name. It's close to Scooby. Like it's pretty close. You take off the Y and add 3 letters.
3 letters?
Take off the Y and add 3 letters.
Think of a human male name that you do this with as well.
Yeah, it's true.
That's kind of a good hint.
Kind of like
sure. I still wouldn't have got it.
No,
Just
not at all.
Like it's the full name of something short.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how to really describe it. I wouldn't have known it before, even with all the hints. So
I guess what's Bobby's real name? You know, probably pretty close to it.
Is it Bobbert?
Scoobert?
Yeah,
nice
Scoobert.
job.
Yeah, Scoobert Dew.
All right.
We
Way
got
to
there. Yeah,
go.
Scooby-Doo's real name on his birth certificate apparently is Scoobert Dew.
Is it a real birth certificate though?
Bob Dew.
Bob Dew. All right, on to the that was the first one, right? That was just leisure. On to the sports side, we got Royals. We got one Royals question left. We got lots of Major League Baseball questions, and then really difficult Chiefs training camp starts.
Let's just go Royals.
All right, last Royals question for you. Bobby Witt has a Baseball Reference position player WAR of 8.6. There are 2 other players with an 8 WAR season or higher in Royals history. Name both.
Name both.
Well, free space.
Free space.
Yep.
George Brett.
George Brett did it 3 times, and this player did it once.
Older.
Yep.
Older. Oh,
yep.
Man.
He had an amazing offensive season that year. Also was a pretty damn good outfielder, too.
Outfielder, older. Gosh. How old are we talking? Real old?
About play with George Brett. Playing on those teams.
Maybe George Brett.
He was on those teams.
He didn't play in 3 decades, so it makes it a little harder.
That's a good point, yeah. But, the main teams.
The main teams.
Yeah, the main teams of that era that we think of and remember. You want to throw a dart?
I'm trying to think of even an outfielder back then. I mean, I'm not.
Led the league in hits one year.
Nah.
Led the league in hits.
200 of them. Like 200 something. Yep. All right, throw a dart, Andrew. What do you say?
Bobby Scipio.
It was not Bobby Scipio, but I love that answer.
Are you sure?
I'm sure it's not Bobby Scipio. Yes, I am positive it's not. I'll look again.
Let me check.
I'll look again. We've got your information. I'll look again, and if we're wrong, we'll give you the
Didn't we have a
gift card.
question where I said it's 2 W's?
That was earlier when we were talking about players with 200 hits in a season in Royals history.
Yeah.
Let's try to go fast if we can. Ronnie, next up on Sports Radio 810. Ronnie, Sports or Leisure?
Let's go with, you said no Royals left.
That's the only Royals question that's left, and we have some other Major League Baseball questions left.
What were the leisures, those categories again?
Potpourri and walk-in music for closers.
Let's just go with the Chiefs camp. But you said they're hard.
The which ones?
The Chiefs camp, darling.
Yeah, there's 2 that are tough, but I'll just give you one. The Florida Gator. This Florida Gator was undrafted out of college at wide receiver. He did play 2 years with the Chiefs, with his opportunities coming on punt returns. In 2 years, he had 4 catches for 45 yards. He was also a junior.
What era?
This would have been in the 90s 2000 aughts and 2010s.
Like
around there.
Vermeil?
That may have been Haley.
Yeah.
Oh, so you said 2010. Okay, sorry. Oh, man, that was
No,
the
it's
year I lost my focus.
2014 and 15.
Okay, so it,
2014,
wait, is that Reed?
2015.
Oh, this is going to drive me insane when you say the name.
2014, 2015. What do you say, Ronnie?
You said, oh, no, I meant that's Andy
Yeah, it's Andy
Reid,
Reid.
right?
Yep, it's Andy Reid.
Okay.
2 years as a punt returner.
Florida.
Went to Florida. I don't know if
But
that
he,
matters.
but he was on our roster, right?
Yep, he was. Played 2 years. Played 25 games in his career in the 2 years.
Man, I can think of because this has been early Alex Smith, I think. Because we had.
Yep, throw a dart. What do you say? That's right. That's right.
Oh, baby, what a
something.
pull!
The guy I'm thinking of, the only one I can name that we kept getting forced down our throats. I thought he was terrible. I don't remember him being a darling, but something Junior or whatever. I can't think of the name now.
Yep, I got it right too. So you can get this. If I got it, you can get it.
I don't know if that's correct, but
no, I can't even think of the name now.
No.
Yeah, it was the other guy with Albert Wilson. Something Junior. Reggie? No.
It was an IE into the first name, but
no.
What do you say, Ronnie? Throw a dart.
It wasn't that guy though. Is it the Junior guy?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Oh man,
It is.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to throw in the towel.
You're good, Ronnie. Appreciate it. 913-382-810. We got to take a timeout. We'll come back and give you the answers to the questions we did not get. One more break. More Zone next. All right. Questions we did not get answers to. The Florida Gator, punt returner, Andy Reid early, Frankie Hammond Jr., and then Bobby Witt, a Baseball Reference position WAR of 8.6 this year. 2 other players in Royals history have had at least an 8 WAR season or higher. George Brett did it 3 times, the other one being a Willie Wilson. Those are the questions we did not get answers to. Yours all answered correctly there, Sterling?
Yeah, because I have great questions.
Or easy, whatever.
I got yours. I got Frankie Hammond Jr. and Willie Wilson there.
You absolutely did.
Yours were real. Though yours were good questions. They were tough, but fair.
The ones that make you think just a little bit, but you get them right.
I don't like making people think.
Questions.
Scoobert do.
Scoobert do. See, that's right. All right. Program's up next. Got pregame for the Chiefs, 6 o'clock, and then a little postgame with Jack Johnson coming up after that. We'll talk to you tomorrow.